Evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. Today, July 11th, 2022, the Board of County Commissioners, and I will call this meeting to order by first reading our public charge. The Board of Commissioners asks its members and citizens to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with the board and fellow citizens. At any time, should any member of the board or any citizen fail to observe the public charge, the chair will ask the offending person to leave the meeting until that individual regains personal control. Should decorum fail to be restored, the chair will recess the meeting until such time that a genuine commitment to the public charge is observed. At this time, Commissioner Burns, would you lead us in Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioners, do we have any agenda adjustments? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to our announcements, and we will ask our clerk, Ms. Wallace, if she will read our announcements.
Good evening, Commissioners and staff and public. I will read the announcements for tonight's meeting. The websites will be available on our county website for your additional viewing. DECO Public Health COVID-19 Vaccination Clinic Hours. The COVID-19 Vaccination Clinic at the Durham County Department of Public Health, 414 East Main Street, has the following hours to get your free vaccination: Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Appointments and walk-ins are available, and all doses are available. Please note that the clinics are closed between 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. daily. You can call for additional information, 919-560-9217, or visit the Durham County Public Health website. 500 East Main Street construction commencement. Construction activities for the 500 East Main Street mixed-use development will commence on Monday, July 25th, 2022. The southern portion of the 500 East Main Street parking lot will remain accessible to public vehicle traffic. During construction, members of the public will have to utilize the new entrance on Elizabeth Street to access the parking. Because some of the sidewalks around the construction zone will be closed, pedestrians will be directed to the intersection of Dillard and Ramsier for street crossing from the parking lot and will be able to enter the Human Services building using the Dillard Street entrance. Welcome Baby needs summer clothes donations. Welcome Baby is in urgent need of girls and boys' summer clothes and shoes. Currently, most of our bins are bare and we need help from the Durham County community. Clothes for 2T to 8 and shoe sizes 8 to 13 are needed. Donation hours are Monday through Thursday from 8:30 a.m. till 5 p.m. at the Durham Cooperative Extension Building at 721 Foster Street. For additional information, please contact 919-560-7150 or visit welcomebaby.org. The 20th Russell E. Blunt East Coast Invitational is being held on July 22nd through 24th. The Durham Striders Track and Field Club will host the 20th edition of the Russell E. Blunt East Coast Invitational at the Durham County Memorial Stadium, located at 750 Stadium Drive. For more information on the meet, tickets, please visit the durhamstriders.com website. Men's Health Council, Men on the Move Walk. Everyone is invited to join the Men's Health Council for the Durham County Department of Public Health for its monthly Men on the Move Walk on Saturday, July 16th from 8:45 a.m. till 10 a.m. at Lee's Farm Park at 370 Lee Farm Road. Enjoy healthy living tips, warm-up exercises, fellowship, and a walk through nature. For more information, please contact Joyce Page at jpage@dconc.gov. Looking for free summer meals for children? The Durham Summer Meals Program for children 18 and younger began June 13th. Check the food resources map to find location. Please check the website frequently because there will be more sites added throughout the summer. And that website is Durham Area Food Resources-durhamnc.hub. Apply now for Agricultural Economic Development Grant Program. The Durham County Soil and Water Conservation District is accepting applications for the fiscal year 2023 Agricultural Economic Development Grant Program for farmers and schools. Small grants for AG development in schools up to $1,500 and grants for farmers up to $7,500 are available. These grants are directed a new and beginning entrepreneur, nonprofits that support agriculture in the county and to support agriculture education in schools. Please contact the SWCD staff at 919-560-0558 or email scully@dconc.gov for more information. There was one additional announcement that did not make the agenda, and it is the Bulls Pilot Program information session. We are excited to announce that our Bulls BioWork Academy is now accepting applicants for its fall 2022 cohort. The Building Up Local Life Sciences Industrial Initiative is offering full scholarships to youth adults interested in pursuing a career in Durham's growing life sciences industry. To qualify for the program, applicants must have a high school diploma or high school equivalency, be a resident of Durham County, be 18 to 24 years old. You must submit your application by July 29th. Attend a two-part in-person application, math assessment, and information assessment, which is by invite only. You have to commit to the program full-time, complete Durham Tech's 5-month BioWork program, and earn a BioWork certificate. The informational sessions are being held July 14th at 11 a.m. and July 25th at 5:30 p.m. And I am looking here for additional information. You can contact Stephen Kennedy at 919-282-7802 or email skennedy@madeindurham.org, and the website is madeindurham.org. That concludes the announcements.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wallace. You know, we have so many great things that's going on in Durham, and all of these announcements will be on our website, so you can always go and find that information, because we know that it's a lot as we read that off to you. But I just want to say Durham Tech is one of our best-kept secrets in Durham. There's so much offered through Durham Tech, through training, certificates, education, there is so much available there. So please take advantage of it. Any other announcements? Commissioner Jacobs? Anyone else?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to add to information about the Bulls program that this program, if you qualify, it is a scholarship program where the tuition will be completely covered, and there will be bi-monthly stipends, and you also will get a guaranteed job interview, and that these are for jobs that the starting salaries are $40,000 plus benefits. So we really want to encourage our residents to take advantage of this outstanding education to jobs program that our board is directly funding. And I also just wanted to share as an announcement with my fellow board members and also with the community that I am really excited that I will be representing Durham County in a NACO initiative that I applied for with the help of our emergency paramedicine program, Helen Tripp, and also Gudrun Parmer, our Criminal Justice Resource Center director. We were invited to apply, and we will be part of the first National Association of Counties Familiar Faces Initiative Leadership Network, and I will keep our board informed as we move forward, but this is a great opportunity for our board and for Durham County, and thank you, Helen and Gudrun.
Thank you. NACO, which is our National Association of Counties, we as a board participate quite frequently in so many of the initiatives that they do. And I will be reading off some other things in a few minutes, but the other thing that will be happening is your chair will be presenting at the NACO Association, and I will be presenting on prenatal to 3. That is one of our passions, about our little ones, and I always get a little excited about doing that, and it's an honor to be asked to represent Durham. Commissioner Burns?
Well, one, thank you so much, Monica, for bringing those up. I see we have quite a few people in here tonight for Durham Tech, so I know that you all are happy that we're going to have people calling y'all all day tomorrow. You're welcome. I see Dr. Carabattle. I did want to throw out, I know we discussed it last time, but for those of you all who don't follow our social media or perhaps don't follow or perhaps didn't see it in our announcement previously, our ARPA framework application is open. It is open until the 15th. I know many of you have been emailing us and chomping at the bit about this opportunity, this once-in-a-lifetime funding opportunity. I want you to know that the staffers in this room took painstaking steps to make sure that they overlaid our county regulations, state regulations, and federal regulatory compliance over this funding so that we could set up something, so that we could set up a process that would make Durham successful. So that application is open. It is open for 40 days. You can go and find out more information about that online. Last thing, the book harvest is this weekend. So for all of you all who are like me and might have trouble turning library books back in, we will be giving out free books at the book harvest in Central Park. And I'm on the library board, so I have gotten better at it. So, but I did want to let everybody know this weekend, Central Park Book Harvest 1 to 3. And also for everyone who's been asking about ARPA funding, that application is open. So please, by all means, look up the framework. We have shared a PDF online as well as in our newsletter. And let's see some good proposals. Thank you very much.
Okay, we are down to citizens' comments, and this is a time where the board takes time to hear citizens' comments. I have 3 citizens that have signed up, and we'll start with 3 minutes. Jane Paul will be the first one. Okay. Amanda Wallace. And Samantha, it looks like Samantha, fancy. I can't tell what the last name is. Is it Spinetta? Okay, go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and honorable members of the board. My name is Jan Paul. I'm currently the chair of the Durham Animal Welfare Advisory Committee. I have been on the committee this time around since 2018 as the designee of the Sheriff of Durham County and appointed by the board. I previously had served on this committee from 2005 to 2010 as the DA's office representative, during which time somehow the anti-tethering ordinance landed on my lap, and this time around it appears that the community cat ordinance has come around. I want to thank you all very much for being willing to consider revising the ordinance in order to remove the legal barriers to trap, neuter, vaccinate, and release policy for community cats in Durham. The issue of a trap, neuter, vaccinate, return policy versus Durham's current policy of trap and kill has been discussed and studied in Durham for at least 12 years. The Animal Welfare Advisory Committee over the past 3 years have intensively and extensively studied and been educated on the community cat problem. And in fact, the recent study was initiated and organized by the then captain of the Animal Service Division of the Durham County Sheriff's Office. The Animal Welfare Advisory Committee reviewed current literature and data and had presentations from a wide range of experts on both sides of the issue, including public health experts, bird population experts, veterinarians, wildlife experts, animal control programs in other counties, and successful TV and R programs. The Animal Welfare Advisory Committee ultimately made its policy recommendations to this board in September 2021 and have drafted a proposed ordinance that was accepted as an agenda item by this board in May. I just want to clarify very quickly and emphasize what this proposed ordinance would and would not do. What it would not do is create the planning or creation of a trap, neuter, vaccinate, and release or return program. It would not place the responsibility for creating, implementing, or administering a TNVR program on any specific organization, agency, entity, or individual. And it would not prescribe how or by whom a TNVR program could or should be run. What it would do is to remove the current legal barriers that would allow for the possibility of instituting a TNVR program in Durham County at some time in the future, primarily by removing the requirement to obtain a trap permit and the virtually inevitable trapping and killing.
Thank you.
And I'd like to ask if these could be distributed to the members of
Yeah, clerk can take your notes.
Some of these handouts are also in a table at the back.
Okay, the next speaker is Ms. Wallace. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Amanda Wallace, and I'm the founder of Operation Stop CPS. Our organization works with families who have been victims of the child protection system, and our organization has worked with 3 families already here in Durham County who have had their children removed illegally by this system. You don't know who I am, so you might not understand the qualifications that allow me to stand in front of you and say that these children have been removed. But I worked in North Carolina as a child abuse investigator for over 10 years. And so I've been able to review the documents that allowed Durham County to take these children away, and I can say that they have been removed illegally. And so as I stand here in front of the Board of Commissioners, we are calling you to action. You do have the power to do something. The board gave $25 million to social services for them to complete their services. But that $25 million allows them to kidnap children here in Durham County. Durham County appears to be the new auction block for Black children. And so as we stand here again in front of you, we ask, what are you going to do? I have to hold back my anger tonight because I've been able to personally meet with these mothers, these 3 mothers, that tonight as you go home with your babies, they don't have theirs. This grandmother that's standing here, she has to go home and she doesn't have her grandbabies. And so I just wanted to show that these children matter. We cannot continue to say Black Lives Matter and then continue to kidnap children from their safe and loving homes. This is Prince and Zion. This is Miss Wynn. She's not here because she's been gagged by Judge Shamika Reinhardt. This is what's happening in Durham County. This is what is happening in Durham County. And so I do have flyers for each and every person that's here. And I would also like to give them to the board members. Okay. Rest out there? Okay.
Okay, thank you. And we have, hey, would you pronounce your last name if you want to come to the mic? Is it Wynn? Yes. Fancy, you have some really nice handwriting. Come on up to the mic. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Samantha Wynn. I'm here on behalf of my grandson Zion and Prince and my daughter Alexis Wynn. She has been silenced and gagged by Judge Shamika Reinhardt. In 2019, my daughter Alexis Wynn was in a domestic violence situation with the father of Zion and Prince. CPS was called because she went to a shelter to try to save her and her children from the abuse. CPS was called on Alexis, and instead of them helping my daughter, they took her children, they placed them with me. Now the father has manipulated the system, Child Protective Services, by getting the children removed from my home. They were placed in 4 different foster homes. He kept trying to get the children to his sister's house, which he finally completed that. Once the children were in the sister's home, he abused the children. They had black eyes and busted lips. My daughter has reported this to Child Protective Services. No one has did anything. My daughter has completed all the services, and Judge Shamika Reinhardt acknowledged that in November of 2021, she still does not have her children. Alexis' virtual visits were taken away. Remind you, they're in the abuser's home with the sister, and they're also living with a convicted child abuser and a sex offender. And Judge Shamika Reinhardt knows this. She placed them there in the home. They are being sexually abused, and they are being physically abused. They have not been to the doctors in a year to hide the bruises that they have. This is in Child Protective Services care, black eye, busted lips. They have bruises on their bodies and they're underweight. This is when they were in our care, healthy, hair done, healthy, eating right, eating good. And I want to know, what are you guys going to do about the system that kidnapped my grandchildren that need to come home? They've been gone for 3 years in my daughter's care. They were with me for 2 years. And I am not allowed to see my grandsons. So I would like to know, what are you guys going to do to bring my grandsons back home and get them out of the home of a convicted child abuser and sex offender, and also the father? Again, my daughter has been in a domestic violence relationship, and she needs to get her children back in her care. So I would like to know, I'm here tonight. I'm her voice because she's been silenced. I am her voice. And it hurts. It hurts. Holidays, no grandchildren. Birthdays, I can't see them. So I would like to know, what are you guys going to do about it?
Thank you, Ms. Warren, for your passions about our children. And this board cares so much about all of our children. And this is an issue we cannot address on this board. We hear you, but I know that from our attorney, this is not an issue we can address. So we're going to move on, Commissioners. Our next item is, we have minutes. 2 sets of minutes here. We have minutes from our work session, and also from our regular session of June 13th, 2022. Again, are there any additions, any edits that needs to happen in these minutes? If not, I got a motion for approval?
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Been moved. Did I get a second? Okay, it's been moved and properly second. We got a roll call from the clerk.
Commissioner Long. Aye. Commissioner Burns. Aye. Commissioner Carter. Aye. Vice Chair Jacobs. Chair Howerton.
Aye. Minutes have been approved unanimously. Okay, our next item, Commissioners, is ceremonial items. 220420, Durham government earns seven 2022 NACO, National Association of Counties Achievement Awards. The board is requested to recognize the Durham County departments for their role in being named at the 2022 National Association of County Achievement Awards. I'm going to read a little bit about each. I'm going to call the awards out and read just a little bit about, so the audience knows what they are. And I will ask whoever's here representing that award if you will stand, and then we will applaud everyone at the same time. So the first one I have here is the Durham County Transit Plan. If there's someone here to stand for that. The goal of Durham County Transit Plan include creating an exceptional public transportation system that provides greater accessibility, connectivity, and convenience for Durham residents and employees while supporting local development policies, advancing equity, and increasing community trust. The next one is Durham County Administrative Assistant, K-Boat?
Chatbot.
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 It's a chatbot. I don't even know what that one is. I got to get up to date on that one. It says, the Durham County Administrative Assistant chatbot has proven to increase efficiency and save time for Durham County tax administration. The chatbot, while continuing to grow, can assist employees in funding information, following established procedures, and locating forms. That's number 2. The third one is Durham County Government Board of Elections ballot tracking application. Technology advances have improved how the Durham County Board of Election approaches ballot management before, during, and after election periods. The ballot tracking application is designed following the 2020 presidential election cycle to simplify ballot inventory management at one-stop early voting sites and assist in managing backstock at the warehouse. The fourth award, Durham County Social Services, Low-Income Homeowners Relief Program. Durham County DSS worked with the City of Durham to create the Low-Income Homeowners Relief Program to help stabilize housing for vulnerable citizens by protecting low-income Durham residents living in neighborhoods experiencing significant poverty strikes. Number 5, Durham County Social Service Emergency Rental Assistance Program. This launched in May of 2021. Durham ERAP provided residents with assistance regarding their rent and utility payments affected by COVID-19. This was in the form of payments directly to vendors for past due rent, future rent, deposits, past due utilities, and past due and future internet for households that met program criteria. 5. Number 6, Durham County Libraries Innovative League, Innovation League. The Durham County Library Innovation League was created to reach, empower, and engage youth in order to encourage innovative thinking, inclusive spaces, and opportunities for success. This year-round initiative partners with the surrounding for organizations to provide adaptive, themed learning experiences for underserved, low-income youth. And number 7, Mobile Integrated Healthcare Community Paramedic Program. The Mobile Integrated Healthcare Community Paramedic Program began as a pilot program in 2018 and is a function of the Emergency Medical Services Division of the Durham County Office of Emergency Services. Community paramedics work to create a healthier community by collaborating with partner agencies and responding to crisis situations involving at-risk residents. So those are our 7 awards. So, okay. It's very special that Durham gets to receive 7 achievement awards from a National Association of Counties. I don't take that lightly, and neither does this board. If there are comments from the board, I'll hear those now. Commissioner Jacobs.
Well, I just again want to, if all of the staff who were involved with those awards could stand up again, everyone who's been involved with those awards. Yeah, and I just really want to acknowledge because, you know, we're talking about department heads, you know, Greg Maurer, our Chief Information Officer, Tammy Baggett, our Library Director, Derek Bowens.
If we start,
Elections
Mr.
Director.
Jacobs, if we start calling names, we're going to have
Well,
to call
just-
all of our department, all of
Okay.
our staff
But also
names,
a
so-
lot of other staff,
Yeah.
and also a lot of communication between and collaboration between departments. And this is a really big deal. 7 awards out of 18, almost half of the categories, and these are national awards. They're competitive, and I just want to commend you all because this was done during the COVID pandemic when we have been short-staffed and people have been working so hard. And the fact that you all came up with new, innovative ways to deliver services to our community in a better way is just incredible. And I only have direct personal insight into the DSS, which has gotten 2 awards because I'm chair of that board, and I know how much work went into it, and again, the collaboration, and I know that is replicated in each of these cases. So again, thank you, each and every person and our staff who has made this possible, but specifically what the results are, which is to help people in our community. So thank you.
Commissioner Burns.
I will make mine quick because we have a really long night tonight, but I did want to elevate, not to leave anybody out, but I did want to take some time to elevate Greg Morrow. I don't know if you all looked at each one of the awards, but you can't build a chat bot without IT. You can't do a ballot tracking system without IT. The rental assistance program, they had to build up a brand new, I see Ben and them nodding their heads. We had to build a brand new template for that. A template that didn't work the first day, but that's all right. Neither did Obamacare, but we still got it. So I do want to just elevate him just to show that type of collaboration that, you know, during the pandemic, we were also dealing with a malware attack. So I want you all to really think about an economic downturn, the Great Resignation, think about a pandemic, and then think about a malware attack where we had to go in and put everything in by hand, I think for a couple of weeks after, and we still had this very innovative team that built these very innovative systems and platforms that are actually award winning. So I do want to elevate IT because I think sometimes they get left out, and who can turn those types of circumstances around. I also want to jump out and say something about rental assistance. Shout out to Janine and to Ben. Reason why billions of dollars were given out around the United States. When the funding was first given out, Durham County is one of the few counties in the state that already has a program somewhat set up. When the first amount of funding went out with the HOPE program, with the state program, no county got their money out to residents faster than Durham County. Nobody processed their applications faster than Durham County. I know because I worked on the statewide program. Nobody caught up with us, and so I'm proud to say that. So that didn't get an award, but there's a reason why people in here did so well and continue to do so well. And I do want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you all do for the community. And also, last but not least, I do appreciate the fact that we won one for the low-income tax relief program. That was something that everybody on here worked on. It was a collaborative effort between 3 departments. I know with public health, and also shout out to Dwayne. So we built something brand new and got an award for it first year out of the gate. So thank you all for everything that you do, and those are my comments.
Anything else? I like that. So, all right, thank you, commissioners. And thank you again to all of you, all the ones that are here in the audience and staff that's not here. Thank you for your work, because it takes a team effort to make this happen. So, commissioners, now we are at our consent agenda. And for the audience, these are items that the board has had conversations about, done research around, and discussed before tonight. We have items 220321 through, let's see, where's the last one is, the last one is 220428. Are there any items to be pulled? If not, I will ask for a motion for approval.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as is.
Okay, motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Have a roll call by clerk, please.
Commissioner Alam. Aye. Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
And Chair Howerton.
Aye, the consent agenda has been approved unanimously. Our next items are other business, starting with 220405, Durham County Public Health Focus Update, COVID-19 update by our own Rod Jenkins. We haven't had one of these in a little bit, so Rod, welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, other members of the board, County Manager Sowell, General Managers, and Acting County Attorney Darby. It's a pleasure to be before you again, and I'm here to remind the Durham community that COVID is not over. So I will start off with that. I apologize, I'm trying to click.
Get your mic.
Apologies for the technical difficulty.
We got help?
All right, something just happened. Thank you so much. Current statistics, current total 776 cases in the past 7 days, 343 deaths. Latest 7-day moving average is 111. This is a decrease of 8.27% from last week's, as documented in our data hub. There has been a total of 44,441 COVID-19 cases since the beginning of the year until July 10th. Also want to remind the viewing audience that since the pandemic began, there's been 85,612 total cases in Durham County. Just want to really remind everyone that deaths continue to remain stable, and that's due to Omicron virus, and it produces mild symptoms. Even for those, particularly for those who are fully vaccinated and boosters. That's why we really encourage you all to get it. We also want to let the listening audience know that 13 deaths have been added since my last briefing to you all. The state of North Carolina has gone to an electronic death reporting system, so there's always sort of a lag in your death reporting. Unfortunately, that's a 30-day lag for counties to receive their information. So with that being said, we continue to stay on the pulse of our activity as we have done throughout the entire pandemic. Continuing to fulfill our commitment to race and ethnicity trends and keeping up with it. Proud to report that as far as COVID infections, our Hispanic and Latinx individuals in Durham County remain proportionally represented at 10.81% of all of our cases. Black or African American at 35.01%, creeping up a little bit, but still underrepresented. And our white population proportionally represented at 40.91%, although they make up 54% of our population. Our positivity percentage, although the CDC does not really pay attention to it, of course, we continue to do so, and we're seeing our positivity percentage creep up. And of course, that could be attributed to a number of factors. We are out and about, a little bit more, a lot more matriculating due to festivals and celebrations, be it Juneteenth, be it the 4th of July. We know that people are really experiencing COVID fatigue, but make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, there's still a lot of COVID inside our community. But we are proud of those individuals who continue to mask up, continue to social distance, continue to really think before they partake inside any activity that's going to really cause you to get infected. In terms of our cases, as mentioned, a picture is worth 1,000 words. The month of June was a bit brutal to Durham, and we're now starting to see our cases start to level off. Our cases per 100,000 individuals is 241.41 as of July the 10th. Hospitalizations, hospital admissions are trending up slightly, but they remain relatively low. Again, we pay close attention to our ICU beds. We stay in contact with our partners at Duke, Big Duke, Little Duke, and we are constantly asking them how things are going. They pretty much said they're steady, but we are starting to see a slight uptick, and again, that's probably attributed to lots of activity due to a number of different activities. So we are in the high or the high level, and that's attributed to the fact that our number of cases per 100,000 is greater than 200. Our new COVID admissions per 100,000 is greater than 10, and our percentage of staff and patient beds for COVID patients is higher than that 7-day average, which is they wanted the 7-day average to be 10. And we're there. And again, as I've said so many times before, this is us really becoming acclimated to COVID. We're very fortunate in that the Omicron subvariant, which I'll explain in a few minutes, produces mild symptoms for those individuals who are affected, quite different from the Delta variant, in which we saw an extreme amount of deaths. So we are very fortunate to not see too many deaths, but Again, we know and we continue to be in an advisory capacity, just really advising individuals to really take precautions because, again, COVID is not gone. As you could see, Durham, along with other counties, continue to be inside that high transmission level or orange, and according to CDC's tracker, which was updated Thursday, July the 7th. A great majority of the counties I would like to point out to you are in the yellow or the medium, so they are truly on the cusp of going toward the highest level. So again, a picture is always worth 1,000 words. Clearly, from this picture, you can see that COVID-19 is still around. This is a very busy slide, and I apologize for it, but I love it because it really tells the picture, it paints the picture of the variants. The one thing that I want my commissioners and listening audience and viewing audience to get from this is that currently the Omicron variant, subvariant BA.5 is the most prevalent variant as of today. And it's remarkable because just a month ago, it was still BA.2. And right now, this BA.5 subvariant is really responsible for 54% of our cases testing positive for this genotype. BA.2.12.1 makes up 28%, and that's down from 62% at the same time last month. So that's why, again, as your public health director, I continue to encourage you all to get vaccinated because the virus needs a host. And as long as it has an unvaccinated individual to where they could go do their damage, change their cheat codes, if you will, if you're a gamer, if you will, they're going to continue to be around. So we certainly need people to get vaccinated. Vaccine updates, so thankful, ever so thankful to Monica and Maceo for always putting our vaccine updates inside the announcements. Our clinic continues to be open Monday, Wednesday through Friday, 9 to 4, Tuesday with extended hours of 9 to 6. Vaccines are available for children aged 0 to 5. They have been approved, and I'm proud to say that Durham was one of the first health departments or healthcare facilities in the Triangle to offer these vaccines to the babies, and it was quite a sight. We had an orchestra of screaming babies in the health department, but it was all worth it. I saw babies first-hand account. I saw babies as little as 6 months to 4 years old get their vaccines, and a lot of them were troopers, and still so proud of my staff for making that happen rather quickly. Again, Durham leads the way. We had folks coming from as far as Greensboro to get their children vaccinated. Pfizer boosters have been approved for those who are fully vaccinated now, and it's available for those who are 5 to 11 years old. So again, as I mentioned before, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and since June 23rd, of the 9 providers in the Triangle who have given vaccines, Durham County leads the pack. Durham Public Health, I should say, leads the pack. So again, we have administered 852 vaccines, most of which have been 3rd and 4th dose, and 36.2% of all our vaccinations under the age of 5 have been given at Durham County's Department of Public Health. There have been a total of 2,030 doses administered for this new age group. So again, we are certainly making sure that we get the word out that this is available because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the last age group. This is what all these parents have been waiting on. So we certainly want to admonish everyone to get your vaccines. Again, Durham continues to do well as far as fully vaccinated. White population, 62.26% fully vaccinated. Black African American, 50.29%. Asian, 75.39%. And Hispanic, or Latinx, 64.24%. I would also remind you all that whenever we add a new demographic, a new group, it kind of dips out a little bit. That's just spreading it out, simple mathematics. But we'll take these numbers because it really tells the story of how hard we've been working to get people vaccinated. COVID-19 testing, just a word about that, if you'll oblige me. We still have testing available at the Lakewood Shopping Center next to El Centro Hispano. That is done every day, also Saturday through Sunday. There's going to be some changes to those hours of operation coming, primarily because this is a state-sponsored site. The state is shifting their strategy, but Durham's public health director did fight with the state for us to maintain our presence at this particular site because this is the site that Durhamites know that they can go to get their COVID tests. In addition, there's also 30-plus additional sites. What I'd also like to mention is that we are working with the state and local partners to provide what we call community access points. And this is going to be where folks could come and pick up free at-home COVID-19 tests. So as opposed to having to wait, you already filled out your online information for the Biden administration, and you're waiting patiently by the mailbox, you could actually go to these COVID access points and pick them up yourself. So we look forward to really providing this tool and this information to the Durham community because this is a surefire way of helping us to prevent the spread of this virus. So more information to come, and we'll be sure to put that on the website. Final thoughts, and I know I've said this before, but again, we are going to continue to experience waves of COVID-19. Again, we see currently that there's been some increases as of, from week to week. But again, the best way to really stay ahead of it is to stay prepared and just know that COVID is not over. Vaccines are available. Therapeutics are available. There are a number of things that you can do to continue to protect yourself from COVID-19. In summary, again, stay up to date on your vaccines, test and stay home when you're not feeling well, and get treatment right away if you test positive. We all have been in this pandemic moment for quite a while, 2.5 years. We know what to do. It's easy to put your guard down and just say, hey, I'm gonna run in this store and right quick, I'm gonna have my mask, or I'm gonna go to this concert, I'm gonna do whatever have you. The only thing I would encourage you to do is just to think, because again, people are still dying due to COVID-19, and you do not want to be one of them. So at that point, I will open it up for some questions to the commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. You always do such a great job at informing us as to what's happening, and we truly appreciate that. And for the public, just to know that we only have one meeting this month for the month of July. So our health director will be back with us again in August because we won't have another meeting for him to present the rest of this month. But if there is anything that the public needs to know, there will be other ways to get that information out.
Madam Chair, if I may, just a quick word about monkeypox.
Yes.
We do know that in the state of North Carolina, there are 4 cases of monkeypox. I believe the counties are Haywood County, Mecklenburg, Wake, and now Orange County. As a former soldier, field artillery, I say that's danger close. So for the most part, what we've done is we thought it not robbery for Durham County to be in the first 7 to receive the monkeypox vaccine. So, okay. I did say quick, so I'll be quick. The important thing to know is in terms of monkeypox, again, the vaccine is available here in Durham. We are committed to ensuring that our partners at Duke and UNC Hospital, but particularly our surrounding health departments, have access to it. We are providing that education to our general public so they'll know without a doubt what they can do to protect themselves. We're doing our best to not stigmatize this particular disease, because anybody who is in close contact, and I would like to really articulate what close contact means when it comes to monkeypox. Close contact with monkeypox is not less than 6 feet. when it comes to monkeypox, close contact is you've rubbed up on somebody. You've been on them. And that is the original form of close contact. With that being said, if there's any questions about whether or not you meet case definition, we do have our resource line, which is 919-560-9217. It is the same resource line that you would call for COVID. We are ready. We are ready. We have been in talks with the state and CDC about this, and Durham County is well positioned to take care of our community. So thank you for allowing me to talk about that.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, questions, comments? Commissioner Carter?
Yes, thank you so much, Rod. And I want to just be sure I'm understanding something. And I spent most of your presentation thinking about it because it was a startling statistic to me. It was the slide where you said we've had 44,000 cases in the past 7 months, I guess, since January. And overall, during the 21 months before that, we only had 85,600 approximately. And so basically, I'm reading this to say we've had 50% of all of our cases have happened since January 1st.
It's mind-blowing, Commissioner Carter. I know it is. And even when I was typing out those numbers, I had to really pause and say, is this right? And it is, because if I could jog your memory for a minute, remember like when we came back from the Christmas holiday and Omicron finally arrived, and it hit Durham so hard to the point where the month of January 2022, I don't even want to think about it anymore, because that's when we had significant amounts of cases, significant amounts of deaths. That's when, like, on that epi curve that I know you're also familiar with as a public health professional, that epi curve shot straight up. And we were really waiting on it to shoot back down. But yes, Durham was doing really well until January 2022. And that's when we received the majority of our cases of COVID due to the original Omicron variant. And then, of course, we have all the subvariants. So we're continuing to see the results, and the numbers continue to increase, of course, because of the fact that it's so highly transmissible. And I tell folks now, staff or family members, so don't feel bad if you don't get it, if you get it. A lot of people are like, 2.5 years and I just got it. I was like, don't feel bad, because this thing is so transmissible. That's why I'm trying to, really trying to encourage folks, Commissioner Carter and others, please stay the course, stay vigilant. If you hadn't got it, it's for a reason. It's because you were doing the right thing.
Yes, I do hope everyone will get all of the boosters they're eligible for and continue to wear your masks. I mean, those numbers to me suggest that we should all be wearing our masks indoors, and therefore I have mine on, even though I really can't stand it. You can't see me when I smile. There's so much that's diminished, I think, with communication when you can't see the whole face. But anyway, I just really would encourage mask wearing still. The vaccine prevents severe infection. I don't really think that the vaccine anymore prevents infection. I think that these numbers show that. But it does prevent severe infection, and everybody needs to get it and keep wearing your mask. And I also want to thank you, Mr. Jenkins, for the excellent experience that young families are having with their children at the health department. My grandson and granddaughter were both vaccinated there, and my daughter said it was a very smooth experience and that she apologized for her screaming 3-year-old.
It's still cute, though.
Commissioner Lum?
Commissioner Carter asked my question. I was running those numbers too, looking at that 50%.
Okay. Thank you. Could you repeat the number of deaths that has occurred since January?
300 since January or throughout the entire pandemic?
Since January.
I don't have the number since January, but I do know since the last time we met, it's been 13 additional deaths, which brings us to 343. And it's a grim number, but I'm still enormously proud of Durham, because when you compare us in the number of deaths and infections to like-sized counties. We are still holding our own, but our hearts and prayers and meditations will always be with those families that have lost loved ones due to COVID-19.
Thank you. Jacobs?
Hey, Madam Vice Chair, welcome back.
Thank you. Rod, thank you so much for your report. And, you know, every time I go on the Durham County Public Health COVID dashboard, I'm just, you know, there's just more and more information. I encourage everyone to check out that dashboard. There's, you know, information is broken out every single which way, and I really appreciate that. I wanted to hone in on how we're doing with the vaccination of our children, especially thinking about, I know it's summer vacation, but, you know, thinking about our kids going back to school soon and knowing it takes time for the vaccines to kick in. And thanks to the dashboard, I was looking at it today and seeing that, so now 61.909% of children aged 12 to 18 have received at least one vaccination. But I really want to encourage all of our families to get your children fully vaccinated. And are children that age eligible for boosters yet, Rod? Okay, so boosted, fully vaccinated and boosted. And I know we're just starting, but our children ages 0 to 5, or actually, I guess it was 0 to 11, was 36.53%, which means we've got a ways to go on that age group. So, you know, 0 to 11, we've got plenty of kids who are in daycare and who are in elementary school. So let's really work on getting our family members, our neighbors, our friends to think about that. It was shocking to see that 18-year-olds, only 32.38% of our 18-year-olds are vaccinated.
And unfortunately, Madam Chair, that has, not just in Durham, but across North Carolina, that has been the age group that we've had the most trouble with. You know,
Right.
Reflecting back when I was 18-year-old, I thought I was invincible. Yeah. I didn't need any medicine or anything. But we continue to fight the good fight with that one. But along the lines of vaccines for children, Madam Vice Chair, I'd also like to put in a plug, and I wouldn't be a public health director if I didn't. All the other vaccines that your kids need, we certainly want to encourage that because there's some catching up that needs to happen because of the pandemic. And we have offered select dates for families to come, you know, in partnership with DPS for them to come. This is the second year in a row we've done it. And we look forward to getting that mobile unit because we will be able to have a greater presence at the schools. So when parents pick up their kids, they want to come get their vaccines, it's available to them. So I got plans.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rod. That's great news. So just following up on the message, the best way for us to not add to the death statistics is to get vaccinated and boosted, and of course, wearing our mask and taking other precautions. But thank you to you and your staff.
Commissioner Burns?
Mine is very quick because there were not this many people here last time when Rod gave the update. And I did step out while he was going over the stat, but I did want to give him, along with Joanne and the rest of the public health staff, their flowers. We are surrounded by counties, not just in this state, but in the nation, where African-American vaccination rates are abysmal. I remember when I first got on this board, it was my hope and my prayer that they could do the heavy lift of getting people of color vaccinated. And I won't say never, but I worried if we would ever hit the 50% mark. And the last time you were here, we hit 50.1%. That might not seem like a lot to y'all, but this board, we talk a lot about how we as people, and I say we because I'm one of them, I'm very selective about who I allow to handle my health care. As a woman of color, you know, there have been times even in this city where I've been mistreated and had to go find somebody who looked like me to make sure that I got the proper diagnosis. And I know it was hard for them, so I do want to say hats off to Joanne and to Rod for making sure that this community, who has not always had the most trust in government bodies, to trust them with their bodies. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm happy that you brought up the dashboard, because on the dash, I think we're at 74,000 African Americans in this community have been either vaccinated or partially vaccinated. Y'all, that is huge when there are some counties that went out of their way to make sure that nobody, especially nobody black, got a vaccination at all. If you don't believe it, you ask some of the community health workers who work here in Durham, who had to drive 100 or so miles to give folks vaccines because their county did not care whether they lived or died. So I just want to take this opportunity again. Y'all are not always in here, wish you were, to say thank you to Rod and his team for saving people that look like me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns, and I would be remiss if I did not really lift up the partners that really make this happen, particularly with emphasis on the African American COVID Task Force Plus, Latin 19, and many, many others who really partner with public health, particularly with Duke, Office of Community Health. I mean, we work tirelessly to partner with folks. And just last Thursday, we had a webinar with the African American COVID Task Force, just to really let parents know what to do in order to prepare their kids to get vaccinated. So that's how you're going to move the needle. We appreciate the praise.
Okay, thank you again, Ron. You are always full of information to make sure that we have what we need to ensure that we take care of ourselves and take care of our loved ones and the people around us. So thank you for your information tonight. Okay, Commissioners, our next item is a public hearing. 220421. It's a public hearing, 2022 general obligation bond referendum. The board is requested to take the following actions, which represent the third and final step in a three-part approval process relating to the 2022 general obligation bond referendum. And I will start with asking our clerk to read the opening statement.
Chair Howerton, I do believe that General Manager Hager has a brief presentation she'd like to share.
She has a presentation for us. Okay, that was not on my notes. So
That's okay.
all right.
This will be a short presentation.
Okay.
We welcome our residents here tonight to the referendum conversation. We want to give some quick highlights. Many of these have been shared in previous meetings, but we recognize there may be some that have not seen some of these important highlights. We'll give two quick overviews about the process and next steps. We'll not go into all of the details, but our planning process has been underway for almost 2 years. We're always refining our numbers. With this current construction environment, with inflation and other factors, we're always recalibrating where we are. The capital planning element is a multi-year process, and we do plan for a 10-year look. We finance our capital projects through a combination of debt, including limited obligation bonds, general obligation bonds, and we also do pay as you go. We pay for projects along the way. Those factors determine how much we can afford, as well as the timing of when projects can move forward. As you imagine, with any type of needs assessment, there are probably more needs than there are dollars to align with them. And so the same with the personal budget, that is the process we've been through over the last couple of years. More specifically, we updated our planning process started in the summer-fall timeframe of 2021. We had facility master plan updates There were requests from Durham County government departments, Durham Public Schools, Durham Technical Community College, and the Museum of Life and Science. In the winter, the proposals were received and reviewed by staff as well as our financial advisor. There was much vetting back and forth, conversations with different boards, and there were also opportunities for feedback. In the spring of 2022, there was additional vetting of proposed CIP projects, and I will say of my almost 30 years doing this kind of stuff, I know I must have started when I was 5. This has been the hardest period from inflationary issues, labor supply issues. Projects a year and a half ago are now projecting 30% higher just because of those factors of labor cost and other inflationary issues. So this has been a tricky process, and that's why we update it often, to try to make sure we have the best numbers and we are planning accordingly. Additional proposed projects were vetted with the Board of Commissioners. The board did decide to move forward with our 10-year plan, which is a $1.8 billion plan. There are details of that information within this document towards the end of it. There was a notice of intent to have a bond referendum published in June 19th, June 19th. And then there were other steps involved, which brought us to this point today of a public hearing on the referendum. The proposed referendum is $550 million. It is allocated for Durham Public Schools at $423.5 million, Durham Technical Community College at $112.7 million, and the Museum of Life and Science at $13.9 million. The funds will support at Durham Public Schools many upgrades. And as I shared before, there's lots of details within the agenda item that will share the facts. We will also, if the board decides to move forward, put additional facts on our websites of the respective organizations. There are dollars to support facility upgrades, modernization, renewable energy goals, to address support safety issues and security measures, infrastructure issues, HVAC enhancements, as well as renovations at many of the elementary schools and funding for an existing high school replacement and a new elementary school. Now, it's important to note that although there are dollars in the bond referendum for programs, there are also limited obligation bond projects that are funded by the county. So as you look at the full picture, one must take into account the dollars that are allocated already for Durham Public Schools, Durham Tech, and other places using other funding sources. With Durham Technical Community College, there's $112 million allocated, and the funding supports the construction of a new 86,000 square foot allied health building. It provides modernized spaces, including simulation labs and other classroom labs that are important for the pedagogical teaching that's required in this new technological age. We want to be competitive. The dollars will support the requirements for the classroom space, for medical assistance programming, nursing assistance programming, pharmacy technicians, and other health professions. There's another allocation in the bond program, proposed program, for the construction of a new 36,000 square foot life science training facility and classroom building. This will also address much needed industry training. The dollars will also support land acquisition needs for future expansion. For the Museum of Life and Science, the dollars support renovation and modernization of many of the museum's learning environments. They enhance the climate change, technological innovation, and health science, as well as enhancements and improvements to the indoor and outdoor learning environments. And I know I'm going fast, but again, there's more details within the materials. The funds will also allow for renovations to the meeting rooms and other programs that will help our residents have access to additional programming and space. This referendum does require a tax increase. We have a capital finance plan that was established in the late 80s that sets a strategy on how we fund our debt. It's been in place since the 80s. There's a dedicated amount from property tax, some dollars from sales tax, occupancy tax. Those are some of the larger resources. Over the years, that strategy has worked well. Durham County was one of the first communities to establish this approach. We also use short-time financing, bank anticipation notes. This is an instrument that typically is used in the private sector. Durham was the first to do it in North Carolina from a local government perspective. This means you only borrow the cash when you need it. So that helps to keep our expenses low when we are borrowing for various programs. So with all that being said, we are projecting that we'll need a 2.5 cents tax rate increase at this point. These numbers may change. When we did this back in 2016, we projected that we may need up to 3 cents. We actually only needed about 1.9 cents. So we tried to be as aggressive with pricing as cost and conservative with revenues. Because if we miss those targets, they'll be looking at us. So we try to make sure that those numbers are fair in reporting. Timeline-wise, we've talked about some of those, but we're at the public hearing stage right now. There is a process that a blue ribbon committee, if the board does choose to move forward, will meet and discuss the referendum and the marketing associated with it. Public employees cannot participate in the marketing. We can participate in making sure the facts are presented about the actual referendum. After this meeting, if the board chooses to move forward, the resolution acknowledging that we're setting the special referendum will go to the clerk, from the clerk to the Board of Elections. The process requires lots of approvals and lots of evaluations. Much of that happens with the local government commission, and they will do that assessment. They've started some of that, and they will continue that once we get to this step. There are specific notifications that happen, so there are several points throughout this process to make sure the public is aware. That starts in September, a second notice in October, and the last day to vote, register to vote is on October 14th, with the referendum day for folks to vote on the November 8th. And whatever the results of those decisions from our voters will be certified on November 28th. Now, we'll not go into all the supplemental materials. On our website, you can see all of this and more. Please feel free to email us if you have questions. Just wanted to show you the timelines associated with this. Our capital finance plan and our model, how we pay for our debt, all of those details are there. Again, more capital finance information. This chart shows what we said right now, a 2.5% sales tax, property tax increase if we stick with the plan that's in place now. Years down the road, if we decide to do it again, because we're looking at 10 years, we may need another one, but we're just focused on this current phase right now because all the numbers are recalibrated every couple of years. And then this very wonderful chart shows how we pay for all of it. I love this. I was here back in 1990-something and started the graph for this because I like visually to show how things come together. So those of you who want to know how does it map together and how does it align with the chart of accounts and the AFR, the annual financial report, this is a good place to see how all those details come together. So that ends my presentation, and I will entertain any questions the board may have.
Any questions for the board? Commissioner Jacobs?
Just one quick clarifying question. So all of the information, because you have given us a lot of information that's not, obviously you don't have time to share tonight. That it has, you gave us detailed information about the specific projects, for instance, for Durham Public Schools. Those will be on, where are we going to have a special web page or?
That's a great question. If the board chooses to move forward with this next step, then we will have a special page on our website that will have the educational materials associated with it. So right now, if someone wants to find those, they're with the different board meetings that we've had. We've also linked, and there's a link within the documents that will take you to the Budget and Management Services Department webpage. And there you will see, one will find our information on our facilities master plan update. There's an interactive table that you can see the various details on the budget. And so that's another great resource. But as the board decides about movement or forward or not, we will then formalize it even more so it's all in one place. So right now, it's somewhat fragmented, but it's quite a bit at the Budget and Management Services Department.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Burns.
It's all right. One, I'm happy that Commissioner Jacobs did ask that. If this does pass, and I know you all like, why do we keep saying if? I hope you all picked up on what General Manager Hager said, that within our capacity as elected officials and within their capacity as public administrators, we cannot promote this bond. We can only answer factual information. So even though this seems like a lot, it kind of makes sense to us because we've seen the presentation a bunch of times throughout the budget cycles, ask questions about it to exhaustion. I would like to thank my financial literacy professors, David Ades and Claudia Hager, and I'm forgetting somebody, Keith. Keith, so we've done this a bunch of times, but I do want you to know that there's a level of transparency that if this passes, you'll see it. But if you see us on the street, do not get upset if we don't say, well, blah, 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 because there's a county right now that's going through a bond, and they're going through some litigation because somebody saw that. So I did want to say that. We talked about that in the last meeting, but again, I know we have a lot of people here who want to speak on this, and then you might want to speak to us after this. Just, I wanted to elevate that. I also wanted you all to go back to the consent agenda. If you go back to the consent agenda, you know, there's a capital project amendment at 22-0415, and it says closing multiple completed projects. One of the things I want folks to know is that these projects that they get paid for, they get bid out, they get closed. So like there's a renovation on Jordan High School that got closed out. The Hub Farm improvements. I'm not going to read them all, but you will actually see on here Lowe's Grove, Eno Valley, Glen School Rose Roof, Lowe's Grove. There's a number of projects for DTCC. So if you're like, I don't know what I'm looking at right now, look at this document right here to see this is what it looks like once stuff gets done. And I do see some folks here from the school board who work very hard on those projects. And I'll just leave it there. But if you want to see an example of what it looks like to pay for things, there's some examples of it right here in this document. And that's all I have to say about that.
Anything else, commissioners? Okay, so we can move on. And I think the audience get that this is a long process and lots and lots and lots of information. And I'm not going to reiterate any of that. All that is on the website if anyone wants to go and read it. We're going to move on to the voting business here. And there are steps that most of us are not familiar with. As far as the bond is concerned, there are some new steps here, even commissioners, that when I go through them, just know that these are the process that the bond folks want us to do. So the first stage will be our clerk reading the school bond order. Is there a problem?
All right, I'll start. I'd like to report to the board that the bond order entitled Bond Order Authorizing the Issuance of $423,505,000 of general obligation school bonds of the County of Durham, North Carolina, which was introduced at a meeting of the board held on July 1st, 2022, was published on July 3rd, 2022, with notice that the board would hold a public hearing thereon on July 11th, 2022 at 7 p.m. I'd also like to report that there has been filed in my office a statement of debt complying with provisions of the Local Government Bond Act, and such statement as filed showed the net indebtedness of the county to be 2.3535% of the assessed valuation of property in the county subject to taxation.
Thank you. So I need a motion that the county now hold a public hearing, notice of which has been properly made as referenced by the clerk on the general obligation school bond order. Is there a motion to now hold a public hearing?
I move that we hold a public hearing on the
Second.
proposed bond.
Second.
Moved and second. Okay, clerk.
Verbal vote, Commissioner Alam,
Aye.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter, Vice Chair Jacobs,
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye, it's 5-0. Now the board will hear anyone who wishes to be heard on the question of the validity of the general obligation bond, school bond order, and the advisability of issuing the general obligation school bond. And the clerk has a copy of the bond order and the notice of the public hearing relating thereto, if anyone would like to see a copy of it. Our clerk has that. And I will acknowledge the speakers. I have about 4 speakers here. The first one is Ms. Jones.
Chair Howerton, we did not have anyone sign up to speak for the school bond order. Those individuals signed up were for the Durham Tech.
This is for Durham Tech?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I saw school bond, and I assumed that was that one. Okay, so we don't have anyone signed up for that one.
Madam Chair, can we just make sure, I think some people didn't get a chance to sign up.
So you'll have to fill out a form if you're going to speak. They filled out a form, Monica? All this is Durham Tech. Okay, is there Rachel Owens? Okay, so they're all right, let me separate these. Okay, Rachel, Deborah Clark Jones. Now, is that Durham Tech or is, you're Durham Tech? Okay. And let's see, who else? Karen Purvis? You're Durham Tech or school? Okay. Okay, we got them mixed together here. All right. So if you will come to the mic, both of you, and you have, okay, did you fill out a form? I don't have one on you. So if you'll see the clerk to fill out a form. And you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you.
And if you will repeat your name and address, please.
Yes, Rachel Owens, 819 Bill Pool Road, Rougemont, North Carolina. Good evening. I hope you all are well. My name is Rachel Owens. And the purpose I'm here this evening is to ask for your support of the education bond that you have before you. As a high school science teacher of 23 years in North Carolina, I have watched the issue of climate change come into the consciousness of my students slowly but surely over the years and in a way that no other issue has during my career. It is the defining issue of their time. They understand so much, and yet there's so much they don't understand. They understand the science. They understand that we, as a society, have to make changes in the way we consume. They understand that there has to be policy change. They understand that the industry has to care more about the welfare of the people who buy their products than they do about their bottom line. They understand that as pre-consumers in their young adult age, they are not able to make the decisions in their household as to what products their parents buy for them, and that the healthier, safer, more environmentally friendly products are usually the more expensive ones, and that not all families have the options to choose these products over their less healthy counterparts. Most of all, they understand that they didn't create this problem, but they are the ones dealing with the brunt of its effects. What they don't understand is why older generations sometimes refuse to comprehend how important this issue is, like us, and how decisions and choices supremely and overwhelmingly will determine their quality of life, the things that we decide for them. They don't understand how the least we can do, things like recycling, adjusting the thermostat, are so difficult for us. They don't understand why this issue is not at the forefront of every single economic, societal, and policy-driven conversation on the streets. This bond will go a long way to helping them make some sense of things. With this money, students can go to a school in a facility where it's not only energy efficient, but it uses energy that comes from clean sources like solar that won't worsen air quality or water quality and it won't lead to higher incidences of health problems among our more susceptible youth. Not to mention the safety measures this money will help to fund in our buildings. We have to do everything we can to protect them and give them every chance at a future they're choosing. Because when it comes down to it, it's their future we're holding in our hands. So I thank you for your work thus far in getting this most important referendum pushed forward, most distinguished commissioners, and I will do my part to engage voters in sending it over the finish line. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Go ahead, Karen.
Good evening. My name is Karen Pruce, and I'm a longtime resident of Durham. I come before you tonight to voice my support for the 2022 bond referendum. In total, although my comments this evening will be specifically to support Durham Public Schools. I'm the granddaughter of immigrants who came to this country with only a fourth grade education and no knowledge of English. They were of very modest means, but they had a very strong belief in education as a way for their children and grandchildren to be able to provide for themselves and for their families. And I and members of my extended family are beneficiaries of this very strong belief. I would like to pay that forward by voicing my support and pledging my tax dollars for the 2022 education bonds. Education involves not only teachers and staff and all of the people that make schools work, but education also involves a learning environment that's conducive to learning. These bonds will fund the creation and maintenance of an environment essential for and conducive to learning. I note that the average age of schools in Durham is 50 years. Essentials like lighting, roofs, electrical systems, HVACs, fire alarms, and technology need to be repaired, replaced, or upgraded. More classrooms are needed. All of this is necessary to create and maintain a safe, secure, healthy learning environment for our students. Energy efficient and renewable energy ready schools are also essential for a healthy learning environment. Energy efficient HVACs and good ventilation improve indoor air quality and also outdoor air quality, which lead to better health outcomes for our students. Energy efficiency measures and renewable energy systems reduce the cost of electricity and provide additional career and technical educational opportunities that lead directly to 21st century jobs. The upgrades and renovations included in the school's bond are badly needed and have been deferred for way too long. Our moment to address these needs is now. Our students, our youth, are the future of our community. I respectfully request that the commissioners adopt the school's bond orders and the resolution setting a special referendum. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Calloway and Michelle Burton.
All right. Good evening, Board. I come to you this evening as the son of a retired public school teacher with 34 years of experience and the grandson of a late public school teacher with 75 years of experience. So I'm also a former employee of Durham Public Schools and had the privilege of serving the community and spending $1.7 million of the last bond that came out to the community in our schools. Happy to say that those projects were on time and under budget. But especially hearing the chatter in the community, not only am I concerned about this bond, I actually will not be supporting this round of school bonds for three specific reasons, though I do understand there are a lot of concerns in the community. So my three reasons are, one, the sheer magnitude of this bond, two, a history of failures of past DPS bonds, and three, a general lack of accountability and transparency in the school district. On the first point, the sheer magnitude of this bond, Wake County Public Schools raised some eyebrows last decade when, in quick succession, they passed $1.36 billion in bonds to serve a growing school system. If you scale our bonds to match the Wake County bond on a per student basis, these bonds would be over $2 billion. So the magnitude of this for a shrinking school district is alarming to me. On the second point of the history of failures, if the community will recall that in 2007, 2 bonds ago, DPS said that they were going to build a new high school. That did not happen. In the 2016 bond, DPS told the community, we're going to build a new high school. That did not happen until they came to you and got extra money to continue with the Northern project. They're now saying again that they will build a new high school. I have deep concerns about their ability to follow through on that. And on a general lack of accountability and transparency, I challenge you, I encourage you to go look at the Wake County Public Schools website. They track their bonds with incredible precision and transparency. Our website, I think, is a reflection of our operations. It is very opaque. I would say if, well, this is also from an institution that eliminated their internal auditors years ago. So I would encourage, if you do continue, please reduce the amount in this bond to gain public trust, and also consider greater oversight of all of DPS operations, including this bond by the county. You are the purse strings here, and we ask you to be the point of accountability. If democracy dies in darkness, then school bonds are swindled in the shadows. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm not going to take up much of your time. My name is Michelle Burton, 3009 Stone Fence Court here in Durham. I am a longtime educator here in Durham County, and I also currently serve as the president of the Durham Association of Educators, and I'm just here to speak in support of the school bond. As a longtime educator here in Durham and here in North Carolina, it is crucial that we have buildings that are up to date, buildings for our students to thrive in. As many of you know, many of the school buildings here in Durham are 50 years old or older. If you go into some of our buildings, such as Merrick Moore, or if you go into Moorhead Montessori, you know, they are very old plants, and they need up-to-date materials, they need up-to-date HVAC systems, what have you, for our kids to thrive and to be successful in. And so I am willing to pay higher taxes for our kids to have really great buildings to learn in, to be healthy in, to be successful in. And as an educator here in Durham and as president of DAE, I will do my part in order to make sure that citizens of Durham County understand why we need this bond to pass. So I am just asking you that you please adopt this school bond so our kids will be in wonderful, awesome buildings. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Burton. Okay. If there are no additional comments, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Need a second?
Second. Roll call, Commissioner Alam. Aye. Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter.
Aye, with great thanks to our speakers.
Vice Chair Jacobs.
Did you call me?
No, Vice Chair Jacobs. Chair Howerton.
Aye. Okay, passes 5-0. Are there any comments from commissioners at this time? Hearing none, I now need a motion that the board adopt and direct the clerk to publish a notice of adoption as prescribed by the Local Government Board Act, Bond Act, of the General Obligation School Bond Order entitled Bond Order Authorizing the Insurance of $423,505,000 of General Obligation School Bonds of the County of Durham, North Carolina, which was introduced at the meeting of the board held on July 1, 2022. So I need a motion. I'm trying to, through all of us. So now I need another motion to approve this? Okay, so I need another motion to approve what I just read.
Madam Chair, I would move that we approve the bond order authorizing $423,505,000 general obligation school bonds for the County of Durham, and everything else that you said in your statement accordingly.
Okay, and I need a second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and probably second.
Roll call, Commissioner Alam. Aye. Commissioner Burns.
I acknowledging accountability along with the fact that we need good schools for our kids to learn in, but acknowledging all the speakers and putting accountability first.
Commissioner Carter. Aye. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. Approved 5-0. Okay, so just bear with us. We don't normally go through all this process, but the bond council says we have to do it this way. So the next one is Community College Bond Order. I need a motion that the county now hold a public hearing, notice on which has been properly made as referenced by the clerk on the general obligation community college bond order. Is there a motion to hold a public hearing?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we hold a public hearing for the general obligation community college bonds.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
Commissioner Alam? Aye. Commissioner Burns?
Aye.
Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Vice Chair Jacobs?
Aye.
Chair Howerton?
It's approved 5-0. Now the board will now hear anyone who wishes to be heard on the question of the viability of the general obligation community college bond order and the advisability of issuing the general obligation community college bonds. The clerk has a copy of the bond order and the notice of public hearing relating thereto, if anyone would like to see a copy of it. And we have a few speakers. Let's see, where did I do with those? Jones, and I think in both, we have two. Deborah Clark Jones. I think is that on the school? That's on college, I think. Yeah, Ms. Jones here. And then there's another, Shalise Jones. Okay, over here, okay. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. I am Deborah Clark Jones, and I serve as the Associate Vice President for Community Health at Duke Health. On behalf of Duke's President, the Health System Chancellor, and the Vice President for Community Affairs, I am here to express Duke's support of Durham Technical Community College's capital improvement projects in the 2022 bond referendum. Nationally, healthcare systems face critical staffing shortages that could jeopardize access to care in the communities they serve. A shortage of 3.2 million healthcare workers is projected by 2026. If current trends persist, North Carolina could be among the top 5 states for nursing shortages by 2026. North Carolina NurseCast data estimates that the state will have a shortage of nearly 17,500 nurses by 2033. These shortages impact hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, hospice, mental health facilities, and more. Our region has one of the largest projected shortfalls of nurses by 2033. Nursing is only one of many healthcare professions facing shortages. Durham Technical Community College plays a pivotal role in addressing healthcare workforce needs. The newly proposed Allied Health Building will serve as a state-of-the-art space to attract and educate students for jobs that will be in high demand for years to come. It is also important to note that 92% of Durham Tech's nursing graduates stay in North Carolina, and the vast majority remain within a 17-mile radius. Duke and Durham Tech have developed a strong partnership through the years. We are discussing even more collaborative investments to assist Durham Tech in meeting allied health needs, including faculty development, medical equipment, and expanded clinical opportunities. Our collaboration also includes continuing education for our employees. In closing, investing in Durham Technical Community College's Allied Health Project is an investment in our entire community, given all of the ways healthcare workers touch our lives. This total bond package, which Duke wholeheartedly supports, provides educational resources that benefit all residents of Durham. We hope that you will support Durham Tech and thus the entire Durham County community by approving the 2022 education bond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Shayla Nunn Jones, another Jones. I'm here tonight on behalf of Nova Nordisk in support of the bond for Durham Tech Community College's new life science training facility. Novo Nordisk is a global healthcare company in the business of making innovative products for people with diabetes, obesity, and other chronic diseases and rare diseases. Novo Nordisk has been part of the life science industry in the Triangle region for nearly 30 years, opening its first strategic production facility in 1993 in Clayton, North Carolina. In 2016, we opened our second facility in Clayton, but in 2019, we opened our third facility here in Durham, North Carolina. As a Durham, North Carolina resident, I'm pleased as punch. All in all, we employ more than 1,600 North Carolinians, and we're still growing. At our facilities, we employ engineers, IT and automation professionals, process technicians, project managers, quality control analysts, maintenance technicians, and many, many other roles. We utilize our local colleges and universities for recruitment, but our community colleges, we believe, are a key asset for all economic development recruitment. Novo Nordisk's continued growth and all the new life science companies relocating to the Triangle region are a testament to that. We strongly believe that this bond for Durham Tech Community College to construct this state-of-the-art life science training facility with hands-on learning for aseptic processing, oral solid dosing, fermentation, purification, and other bioprocessing skills is critical for 3 reasons. 1, to increase the talent pipeline to recruit workers that Novo Nordisk and other life science companies need today and into perpetuity. 2, for training our current workforce, ensuring that we can provide continuous improvements for our biomanufacturing processing. And 3rd, and maybe one of the most critical for the Durham community, is that we see this new life science training facility as a tool for reskilling current Durham residents and driving awareness that the jobs in the life science industry are available and accessible for everyone. We believe Durham Tech Community College is perfectly positioned and prepared to make the most of this bond, execute on the development of this capital project, and ensure all Durham residents benefit from this new facility. We urge your support for this bond, and thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. If there are no further comments, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Looks like Brian,
There-
Casey?
I'm sorry? I didn't get it. Maybe they've stuck in the wrong place. Hold on a second. Let's see if they're in here. I think somebody's kind of got them confused here. Casey, I found yours, and also Brian. Yeah, I got them confused. I have them both. They were stuck in a different pile. Go ahead.
Commissioners, all of you know me, but for the record, I'm Casey Steinbacher. I'm the Executive Director of Made in Durham, Durham resident, 312 Blackwell Street, downtown Durham. I am here this evening to speak on behalf of the General Obligation Bond Referendum agenda item, and specifically Durham Technical Community College's request for $112.7 million for facility and campus expansions. You know, each of you have been a tremendous supporter of Made in Durham on our system's approach to education to career pathways. These past 2 years, we've spent a lot of time specifically in the high school to the community college pathway system, and have made progress in aligning and resourcing that pathway, particularly in the life science area. But one of the things I just wanted to share with you this evening is one of the things that I have learned living here in Durham, and specifically in my previous work at the Durham Chamber, when we helped create the innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystems in Durham, is that there's never really enough foresight giving to planning for success. You know, when you're starting from scratch, you're working on something that's misaligned, full of gaps, barriers, the work seems so daunting that it's hard to think about or actually envision a really successful outcome. All of your time is spent with your head down, slugging away at the here and now. And then one day you lift your head up and the successes that you were working towards are not only here, but are now creating a whole new set of issues that we never planned for. Because, in fact, lots of times we never believed we would be that successful. Just take a look at Durham today. Many of our problems are problems of success, things we never dared to think possible 10 to 20 years ago, and because we didn't, we are now living with the disparities of that success. The initiatives made in Durham and Durham Tech are working on are attempting to address some of those disparities created by our previous successes. But they will be for naught if we also do not plan for success moving forward, and specifically the equality of success. Made in Durham's recent analysis, the proposed Durham Tech projects you are looking at this evening will absolutely be necessary to successfully scale our current efforts to ensure that Durham residents, and specifically our young adults of color, have pathways to high-wage, high-growth careers in our own community. Under the leadership of President Buxton and his incredible team at Durham Tech, there is a need now, and there is clearly a greater future need for the facility improvements in industry careers like life sciences and health services that you are looking at. Working with our industry partners in the BOLS initiative in particular, I have seen the growing interest in supporting the college in these areas, and you have just heard specifically from one of our most progressive and growing industry partners. Made in Durham would strongly support and ask that you also support the request for inclusion in the proposed Durham Tech's request for inclusion in the education bonds. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you, Casey. Yes, Brian, go ahead.
All right, good evening. I'm Brian Fox, and as a representative of the Greater Durham Chamber of Commerce and our 900 members, who include small businesses, nonprofits, corporations, and other community institutions, a few of whom you just heard from, we offer our support for this fall's bond referenda. Durham continues to grow, change, and attract new businesses and expansions to help our economy continue to offer our entrepreneurs and residents opportunities to keep pace and take advantage of the evolution we and many of our peers are experiencing. Workforce development and training continue to offer short-term and long-term benefits to both our residents and businesses, as the county has already recognized through its annual budgeting and federal expenditures. The Durham Tech bond in particular will enable our residents and businesses to continue to expand existing programs while also adding new in-demand specialties like the Life Sciences Training Center and Health Sciences Center. I will note Durham Public Schools also continue to progress in serving our community more equitably and setting students up for post-secondary success, and we all love the Museum of Life and Science and appreciate the enrichment experiences it offers our community members, as well as bringing in outside visitors and revenues. So, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Commissioners, Madam Manager, staff and neighbors, it is our pleasure to look forward to supporting this fall's bonds and look forward to sharing more opportunities to engage with our members and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any other comments? Okay, hearing none. I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and probably second.
Commissioner Amon.
Roll call from the clerk.
Aye. Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter. Aye. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. 5-0. Passes. Commissioners, are there any comments from any commissioners? Okay. All right. I now need a motion that the board adopt and direct the clerk to publish a notice of adoption as prescribed by the Local Government Board Act, Bond Act, of the General Obligation Community College Bond Order entitled Bond Order Authorizing the Insurance of $112,740,000 of general obligation community college bonds of the County of Durham, North Carolina, which was introduced at the meeting of the board held July 1, 2022. So I need a motion and a second.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we move forward with the general obligation community college bond.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Clerk?
Commissioner Alam. Aye. Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter. Aye. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Now we're down to the museum bond order. I need a motion that the county now hold a public hearing, notice of which has been properly made as referenced by the clerk on the general obligation museum bond order. Also, a reminder that Commissioner Burns will need to abstain from this vote since she serves on this board. Need a motion and a second.
Madam Chair, I move to open the public hearing.
It's been moved by Commissioner Alam and seconded by Commissioner Carter.
Commissioner Alam. Aye. Commissioner Burns.
Abstain.
Commissioner Carter. Aye. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Passes 4 with 1 abstention. Okay, the board will now hear anyone who wishes to be heard on the question of the viability of the general obligation museum bond order and the advisability of issuing the general obligation bond museum bond. The clerk has a copy of the bond order and the notice of public hearing relating thereto, if anyone would like to see a copy. Are there any speakers on this one? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Alam. Aye. Commissioner Burns.
Abstain.
Commissioner Carter. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. 4 passes 4 with 1 abstention. Okay, and now we're down to, the chair now needs a motion that the board adopt and direct the clerk to publish a notice of adoption as prescribed by the Local Government Bond Act of the General Obligation Museum Bond Order entitled Bond Order Authorizing the Insurance of $13,995,000 of general obligation museum bonds of the County of Durham, North Carolina, which was introduced at the meeting on the board held on July 1, 2022. I need a motion and a second.
I make the motion that we move forward with the general obligation bond for the Museum of Life and Science.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and probably second.
Commissioner Alam. Aye. Commissioner Burns.
Abstain.
Commissioner Carter. Aye. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Okay, it's approved with 1 abstention. Okay, resolution. Next, we have a resolution entitled Resolution Setting a Special Bond Referendum and Directing the Publication of Notice of a Special Bond Referendum and Notification of the Durham County Board of Elections before the board for consideration authorizing a special bond referendum on the general obligation school bond order and the general obligation community college bond order and directing publication of certain notices related to the referendum and notification to the Durham County Board of Election. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution? Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second.
Commissioner Long? Aye. Commissioner Burns? Aye. Commissioner Carter? Aye. Vice Chair Jacobs?
Aye.
Chair Howerton?
Passes 5-0. And finally, we have a resolution entitled Resolution Setting a Special Bond Referendum and Directing the Publication of Notice of a Special Bond Referendum and Notification of the Durham County Board of Election before the board for consideration authorizing a special bond referendum on the General Obligation Museum order and directing publication of certain notices related to the referendum and notification of the Durham County Board of Elections. Just a reminder that Commissioner Burns will need to abstain from this vote. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and properly second. Clerk?
Commissioner Long? Aye. Commissioner Burns?
Abstain.
Commissioner Carter? Aye. Vice Chair Jacobs?
Aye.
Chair Howerton?
Aye. Passes 4 with 1 abstention. Hallelujah. Well, thank you. So, we have another public hearing, 220394. Proposed amendment to the Durham County Animal Control Ordinance. The board is requested to conduct a public hearing to receive citizens' input on the proposed amendment to the Durham County Animal Control Ordinance, and if appropriate, based on the comments received at this hearing, adopt the proposed amendment only as it relates to the law, policy, and procedure. Absence which entity, Durham County Sheriff Office or nonprofit, will ultimately be responsible for trapping and releasing community cats. The decision as to who will be responsible for trapping will be made at a later reading of the ordinance. And we have our attorney, Willie Darby, here to share any details regarding this issue.
Chair Howerton, Vice
Just
Chair
before you get
Jacobs.
started, I think people have left, but I just wanted to say thanks to everyone, to bearing with us, to getting through this bond, all the voting that needed to be done for that. Go ahead.
Chair Howerton, Vice Chair Jacobs, Commissioners Carter, Burns, and Alam, our famous chair of the county manager, Sowell. I'm going to charge you 20 cents for that. And then our general manager, Gudrum, thank you all for sharing and being here tonight. My task tonight is to cultivate a public hearing that will hopefully produce meaningful fruit that will assist you in making a decision as to whether to approve or not to approve a trap, spade, neuter, vaccinated, and release program here in Durham County. As those terms refer to community or feral cats, now such a program is commonly known as a TSNVR program, or simply a community cats program. We gather tonight for a public hearing. The public hearing has been adequately advertised, and now that process is before you. Before I go further, though, allow me to thank some of the working parts who have gotten us this far in this process. The Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, under the current leadership of Janice Paul and other faithful members. The Animal Shelter, under the capable directions of Shafanda Davis and the entire shelter staff. Sheriff Burkhead and his capable staff, including Deputy Mark Manning and Captain Tim Deck, who has gone off into retirement. Let me thank also Kesley Gilmore Trail of Best Friends Animal Society, and Commissioner Carter, who has kept this process moving forward. You have before you, in some form or fashion, an agenda action package, and that package is primarily made up of the following: a draft version of an amended Durham County Animal Control Ordinance, which is supported by the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, that now serves as our starting point. We're going to start right there. Let me say firsthand, the version you have been working with may have some missing parts or thoughts, and if so, that was inadvertent on my part, and we do promise that you should have no fear, and we'll get those parts back into the ordinance as we go back and reread the different versions. We could have left something out. The ordinance, in addition, attempts to remove the major legal barriers which will prevent you from instituting a community cat program. Also before you are minor changes to the present animal control ordinance. This animal control ordinance will cover some of the following. We will move away from the term destruction of animals to disposition of animals. This ordinance will also talk to you about definition of community cats, following the use and following our leaving the term that we usually talk about, feral cats. This ordinance will exempt community cats from being called strays. This ordinance will make sure that community cats are not required to wear rabies tags. However, community cats will receive a vaccination under the program. This ordinance will also allow us to start, at the start of the program, to exempt from the animal nuisance provisions community cats. We make sure that we distinguish between dogs and community cats in the ordinance, especially under the stray or abandoned section of animals. The ordinance will also clearly say that community cats which have gone through the program can be returned to the site where it was trapped, provided the animal is healthy. The ordinance will say no dogs may be deemed dangerous solely on the basis of breed, size, weight, or appearance. The ordinance will talk to us about one major change. The holding period for animals will be reduced from 5 days to 3 days or 72 hours. Community cats may still be trapped by citizens for community cat involvement into the program. Those will be the basic major changes to help remove some of the legal barriers that may be in the way with regards to adopting a community cat program. Now, since all the details have not been worked out with regards to who will be the major player as it relates to trapping and releasing, I kind of suggest by another document in there that talks to you about alternatives to the sheriff who may be relieved of this responsibility, and if so, then that job can possibly be done by a nonprofit organization, or it can even be done by a for-profit organization. But that remains to be worked out as far as who's going to trap, who's going to release the animals, and how detailed that program will be. So you have before you the amended ordinance using I call them the SWAC model. We ask that you look at that and you consider that seriously. I do know that I have in my hands several petitions and letters about the community cat program, which I will perhaps give you the results of as soon as you finish conducting the public hearing. And I'll stop right there for right now, unless there are questions.
Thank you, Attorney Darby. Are there any questions from board members?
I only have a quick question for you, Madam Chair. Will we be able to give comment after the public hearing?
I'm sorry?
Will we, as board members, be able to give comment after public hearing? Or do we have, because I just like to hear what people say before I said anything. So that's the reason why I'm asking.
That's the normal trend.
You ask staff questions now, and then I will open up public hearing after the board have asked staff questions.
Right. But it's just each time we've done a public hearing tonight, we've done our comments before the public hearing. So I was just getting clarification from you. So, okay, thank you.
Okay. So you don't have a question for staff?
Mm.
Okay. Does anyone else have a question for staff? Okay, so at this point, I will open up a public hearing. And I have about 12 individuals signed up to speak. So we could take, let's see if you can do it in 2 minutes. Will that work? Let's try it. Let's start with, was it Danielle Boyds? Is it Bays? B-A-Y-S? Okay. John Graves? James Smith? Can you just line up for those 3 people? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Danielle Bays. I am the Senior Analyst for Cat Protection and Policy at the Humane Society of the United States, a national animal protection organization based in Washington, D.C., and I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to talk with you today about animals. It is our organization's mission to protect all animals, not just domestic cats, but wildlife as well. The challenges and controversies about how to manage community cats has been around for over a century. And I want to thank the Commission for considering this kind of long game approach to this. This is not something that we're going to solve tonight. It's not something that can be solved in one ordinance. But it's not going to be solved by continuing down the path that Durham is on now. Trap, neuter, vaccinate, return programs have been standard practice across the country. They've been shown as effective in those communities that have adopted them. They've been shown as effective in peer-reviewed scientific journal articles, and in my personal experience of running community cat programs in my community as well as in my own backyard. We all share the goal of having fewer outdoor cats, fewer unowned outdoor cats who live outside. This is going to reduce complaints. It's going to reduce the threats to wildlife. It's going to reduce the risks to public health. It's going to save taxpayer money, and it's going to better serve the community. We're very much in support of this ordinance and the work that has been done by the animal advocates in the community, by the shelter, and by folks across the Durham County. I really want to thank you all for focusing on the solutions here. We really need to look at allowing all members of the community to be part of this solution and to participate in trap, neuter, vaccinate, return efforts without any kind of extensive barriers. That means individual residents and nonprofit organizations. So thank you. I've submitted some additional comments, so if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name is John Graves. I am the East Strategist for Best Friends. I have been working in North Carolina animal welfare since 2006, running shelters and animal control programs across the state. The uniqueness of community cats is, as Danielle was saying, no matter which side you are on, we all have the same common goal. We all want fewer cats. I am here speaking in favor of the AWAC version of the ordinance to achieve that goal. The current practice of trap and remove requires around 95% removal. Sounds fine, sounds achievable, but you have to get 95% of the cats in this colony and the colony next door, and in all the houses, and in the town next door, and in the town next door, or you're just working through a model of inefficiency. If you do not make that impression, other cats will move in. Cats are very migratory. TNVR provides a higher success rate, even with lower amounts of cats or fixed as compared to removal. Spayed and neutered cats migrate far less, cause fewer behavior issues, defend their territories, and stay closer to home. What we're doing isn't working, and I don't mean necessarily just in Durham as an industry. What we've been doing for so long, when we do adopt these programs in communities, it does work. It's been proven over and over again, not just in North Carolina, but across the country. The former model, the old model of trap and removal, is a model, again, of inefficiency. It isn't working to cull populations, and it surely isn't working to address nuisances. There are methods far more successful for mitigating nuisances that actually solve the issue, rather than just for that one cat. Best Friends offers training and resources for free for institutions of these long-term solutions. TNVR is far less about saving individual cats and far more about effective and efficient population management through all members of the community. That's why it's endorsed by entities all over the state and country, including the American Bar Association and the National Animal Control Association. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm James Smith. I'm a resident of the city of Durham. I'm here to speak on behalf of Independent Animal Rescue. IAR supports this resolution. Independent Animal Rescue is a Durham-based 501c3. We're dedicated to rescuing and caring for cats and dogs in need and reducing the suffering of unwanted community animals through adoption, spay, neuter, community education programs, and TNVR. We have served Durham County and the surrounding counties for over 25 years, working closely with animal service departments and municipal shelters across the region. The cats in our TNVR program come from many North Carolina communities, and we would look forward to collaborating with Durham County if the ordinance were approved. IAR performed about 1,500 feral cat spay and neuters this year, and we adopt out feral kittens to get them out of the community whenever possible. Our hope is that Durham County will approve this, and Durham County would benefit from organizations such as ours if this amendment were approved, and we would expect to be able to take some of the burden away from the Durham County Sheriff's Office and the APS as well. Therefore, we would like to urge you to support this amendment and open the door for organizations like ours to help with the feral cat population in Durham. I guess I'd also like to present on behalf of Dr. Elmore. She's a local veterinarian who's here today. She's not a Durham County resident, so she can't speak, but she's been volunteering for a year and a half doing free spay-neutering as part of our clinics. And she would like to let you know that the American Veterinary Medical Association recognizes a mutual goal of veterinarians, humane groups, and wildlife conservation entities to reduce the number of free-roaming and abandoned cats in a humane and ethical manner. It encourages efforts to identify humane and effective... Oops. Oh, well, sorry.
Just finish your statement.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the next three people, Wendy Primer, Shafonda Allen, and Sarah Rickman.
Hi, I'm Wendy Penner, and I am currently the Lieutenant of the Animal Services Division with the Durham County Sheriff's Office. I would like to start off by saying the Animal Services does not trap cats to control the cat population. We trap animals at the request of the citizens of Durham County. Often the request is for cats that the citizens do not want on their property for a number of reasons. We have recently suspended trapping of cats at the request of the APS due to overcrowding. Since we have suspended trapping the cats, we have had countless citizens come to the Animal Services Office and call the Animal Services Office asking for cats to be removed from their property. When the citizens are told we are not currently trapping at this time, they become frustrated and many become angry. I've been asked multiple times what the citizens are supposed to do with the cats because they don't want them on their property. One of my concerns, if we do not give citizens a remedy to their problem, they will take matters into their own hands when it comes to these cats. Another concern I have is the sheriff's office is not staffed to carry out the TNVR program the way it is currently written in the proposed ordinance. Durham County Sheriff's Office would not only need additional deputies, but additional office staff and equipment to be able to successfully carry out these duties. I understand that it's been talked about in the proposal that this is to remove the barriers for the TNVR program in the future. In my opinion, this is not removing barriers to create the TNVR program. It is removing the Sheriff's Office ability to assist citizens with their complaints about nuisance animals. I spoke at the last meeting about the number of calls we've received at certain addresses within the county. We had one address in Treyburn where we received 171 calls for services to trap animals. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Shafonda Allen, and I am the Executive Director of the Animal Protection Society of Durham. I'm going to start with, to whom much is given, much is due. When I left the shelter today, like Lieutenant Penner mentioned, we were full, completely full. Not one single cage left for cats. We actually set carriers up on the floor in case cats came in the middle of the night. We've got to stop these cats before they come in, and the only way we can do that is by creating programs that reduce the population in the community. We're not saying do nothing. We're saying let's do more. Let's give the community more options. Let's give them more solutions. Let them be part of the solution. The wonderful veterinarian that's back there that didn't get a chance to speak today has actually been donating her time to come into the shelter to spay neuter animals for us for free because we don't have a vet on staff right now. So there are people that want to be part of the solution. They want to trap, neuter, and release. They want to help reduce these numbers. They don't want cats to suffer. They want to stop the problem. And I also want to say, because I don't want to waste your time and I respect you so much, if everyone that's here that is in support of the Animal Welfare Association, Animal Welfare Committee's ordinance changes to allow legal TNVR in Durham could please stand to show our commissioners. These are your citizens, these are your voters. Everyone here is willing to do something to help with this problem. They know this is doing more, not less. And for every person that calls that wants them just removed and doesn't know they will die, there are more who are willing to help them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members of the board, my name is Sarah Reichman, and I am a Durham animal welfare advocate and a public member of the AWAC Community Cat Subcommittee. I strongly urge you to adopt an ordinance removing the legal barriers to TNVR in Durham. I've studied the TNVR issue for more than 10 years and based my recommendation in part on the recommendation of a TNVR expert who is a veterinarian from the North Carolina School of Veterinary Medicine, North Carolina Association of Boards of Health, and member of the Board of Directors of the Durham-based Independent Animal Rescue. Dr. Elmore, a local veterinarian, is here today and has been volunteering for Independent Animal Rescue for the past year and a half, performing feral and foster cat spays and neuters and providing medical care for these cats as needed. Because she's an Orange County resident, she is unable to present for herself tonight. However, she would like
to let you know that the American Veterinary Medical Association recognizes a mutual goal of veterinarians, humane groups, and wildlife conservation entities is to reduce the number of free-roaming, abandoned, and feral cats in a humane and ethical manner. It is therefore actively encourages collaborative efforts to identify humane and effective alternatives to the destruction of healthy cats for animal control purposes while minimizing their negative impact on wildlife and public health. The AVMA recognizes that managed colonies are controversial. However, properly managed programs can improve quality of life for these cats through better nutrition, vaccination, and prevent disease, spaying, and neutering to reduce unwanted litters. Thank you for your attention. Dr. Elmore is present. Should the board have any questions for her, I would like to submit her comments for the record, if that's okay.
Thank you.
And would I give them to you? That's,
The next three speakers are
and here's a summary, too. Here's this, and here's
Donna Allison.
Great, thank you so much.
Andre Hickson, and Allison Chang.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, honorable members of the board. My name is Allison Chan. My family and I own property in the Trinity Heights neighborhood of Durham. I come before you as a citizen of this beautiful community and also as the chair of the board of directors of the Animal Protection Society of Durham. By profession, I am an attorney and managing partner at a national law firm. I have practiced immigration law for the past decade. I want to first thank the county commissioners for holding this hearing and allowing community members an opportunity to speak on this very important topic. The welfare of animals is extremely important to me. I believe our treatment of animals reflects our values and who we are as a community. In my experience, the Durham community has an accepting and affectionate relationship with animals, and I am in full support of changing the current ordinance to provide a higher level of care, one that reflects best practices with proven results in communities across the nation for our community cats to ensure their health in a kind and humane manner. I should note that our APS board and volunteers, as well as members of the community, have consistently expressed to me support for this ordinance change for our community cats. At this juncture, APS of Durham practices humane euthanasia as a viable option for animals with greater needs than our community can provide, as well as for those at the end of their life to alleviate suffering that we cannot end otherwise. APS Durham does not exercise these options lightly. Currently, the only viable option and practice for the staff at APS in dealing with community cats is euthanasia, and this is heartbreaking. An ordinance that paves the way for TNVR is one option for our community cats. This is the most humane method of interacting with our community cat population. In time, studies show that it can greatly reduce the population of community cats and solve the issues of cat overpopulation, illness, and other concerns that are associated with cats living freely in the community. Commissioners, I believe we have both a humane and practical response within the same solution. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dawn Allison. Thank you for having a public hearing regarding this ordinance. I've lived in Durham County for 37 years, and I feel very strongly that we need to remove the impediments to trap, neuter, vaccinate, return in Durham County. The trapping and euthanizing of the cats is not in line with humane values, and it doesn't effectively control the population. There are many Durham residents, including ourselves and others that we know, who are willing to help these cats by humanely trapping, neutering, vaccinating, and returning them to where they live, and providing ongoing food and monitoring for any needed health concerns. Experience with colonies in other counties shows that these animals can remain quite healthy and live good lives under the care of their primary caretakers, who provide needed food, water, and shelter. I understand that clear language for changes in the ordinance has been prepared and edited by Best Friends and Durham County Shelter staff. We understand that the Durham Animal Welfare Advisory Board has researched and met at length regarding this ordinance and recommended that specific changes be made to remove the barriers to trap, neuter, vaccinate, return. And in addition, those who are most directly affected by the current situation of having to euthanize many healthy cats falls upon the Durham County Animal Shelter staff, and they very much want to see the legal impediments removed. We're urging you to do all that you can to see that this change is made in the ordinance. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Hudson. I am the Executive Director of Audubon, North Carolina, and Vice President of the National Audubon Society. I'm also a Durham resident, live at 2010 Pershing Street. I want to acknowledge first, this is a very hard issue. This is a really, really tough issue. But the challenge is we don't want to replace one bad policy with another bad policy. I'm here on behalf of 2,000 members of the Audubon Society here in Durham County and 55,000 members across the state. I'm also a trained PhD policy analyst, and what I can say as a policy analyst is when I look at a policy, I do two things. One, to see if a policy actually meets its required objective, and then I also look to see if there's bad, negative, unintended consequences of a policy. This fails on both accounts. TNVR policies have good intentions, they do not work as intended. It's nearly impossible for 100% of cats to be trapped and vaccinated. You have to repeatedly trap cats every 3 years. Any cat owner knows every 3 years you need a new vaccination. Cats get trap shy. You can't do that. Cats also have toxoplasmosis. They carry the toxoplasmosis bacteria that is a huge, huge public health hazard. For us and the Audubon Society, the biggest issue, though, is wildlife. Cats are amazing predators. Anyone who has a cat, you know their athleticism, you've seen a cat video, they're astounding predators. Cats are non-native to North Carolina, and they kill over 2 billion birds a year, estimated. And birds are in trouble. We've lost over 30% of birds in this country, in North America, over the last 50 years, and it's getting worse. There's also a large issue of whether these programs are actually legal. There's a little known but highly enforced law called the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, which really says that even if not intended, you are liable for bird deaths. You can ask British Petroleum that had to pay $100 million for unintended bird deaths in the Deepwater Horizon spill. We do not want to put our community legally liable for additional bird deaths for something that is legally suspect. So not only is this a bad policy that will not do what we want it to do, but it also will have negative consequences for public health and wildlife. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we've got a couple more. Kessler Gilmore and Barbara Diskwall.
Good evening, Commissioners. I just want to take a personal moment to say that in all the years I've been doing this, it's the first time that I've presented to an all-female legislative body making decisions. So on behalf of my stepdaughter, thank you so much. Setting that aside, a little anxious because you guys are amazing. I'm here on behalf of Best Friends Animal Society, and I think you may have heard from about 443 of my closest friends who are Durham County residents. We're in support of the AWAC version of this ordinance. That's because this is the best version of the ordinance that's been put forth with extensive stakeholder-involved conversations and correspondence and meetings and debates and edits. This is the best version. It ensures that there is no restrictions on who can participate in the program, thereby opening it up for a community solution to what's a community problem. The AWAC version of the ordinance does all the things that the stakeholders, including law enforcement, who was at those meetings, had a position to do. And I regret to inform you of one thing about this ordinance today, because I've heard about how innovative Durham County is. This ordinance is not innovative. This is not the first community to do it. In fact, it's been standard practice and best practice recommended by the National Animal Care and Control Association since March 2021. Is it progressive? Yes. But you're not setting a new model. You're not breaking a new ceiling. You're not putting yourself out on a limb by adopting this ordinance. It is bringing you in to the year 2022 to allow your community to manage community cats the same way that so many communities are doing. We're proud to present this ordinance with so many incredible community members today, and we ask that you adopt and support the AWAC version of the ordinance before you tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Kelsey Gilmore Futerall.
Hi, my name is Barbara Driscoll. I'm president of New Hope Audubon Society, which covers Durham, Orange, and Chatham counties. We oppose the legitimization of feral cat colonies in Durham County. In April 2021, the Durham County Commissioners passed a resolution promoting a more bird-friendly Durham County. Creating a TNR, or more appropriate trap, neuter, and re-abandon program, would be the very opposite of a more bird-friendly Durham County. I realize that this is a very emotional issue, but on behalf of New Hope Audubon's nearly 2,000 members in Durham County, I urge that you oppose the TNR program. Numerous studies, factual studies within the U.S. and abroad, have shown that TNR programs have consistently failed to reduce feral cat populations. These programs should be called trap, neuter, and re-abandon, as they subsidize abandonment of cats. These programs also undermine animal control by not requiring rabies or similar vaccines and making abandonment by pet owners easier. These programs facilitate the spread of disease and maintain cats in unsafe conditions. TNR, most specifically, hurts biodiversity. I don't think anybody has said, we understand this is a problem with cats, but what about wildlife? And cats are predators. Up to 3 billion birds in the U.S. each year, as well as 20 million small mammals, and more than 400 million reptiles and amphibians have been killed by cats. This is a huge number. When we're looking at biodiversity losses that we are looking at through climate change and other issues, other ways, habitat loss. But, this is one thing that we can do something about. Cats are not a species that is native to North America. They came from Africa. So they have been helped by people and brought over by people, but they're not native in our ecosystems. Not only does this bill jeopardize the health and welfare of people and animals, it would also leave residents helpless, as it leaves no recourse for remediation to law-abiding property owners. It removes these cats from being considered nuisances. TNR does not meet adoption of evidence-based practices for programs under your own strategic plans. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So commissioners, that brings us down to a last speaker. I want to thank all of the speakers that are here tonight and speaking on this. And Attorney, I know that there are some written
Before you,
documents as well that the clerk has.
I just
go
want to
ahead.
report that there were comments sent to the clerk's office. There were 8 comments. 4 were for, and 4 were against.
Okay.
Humane Society of the United States sends a letter of support of yes to adopt the amendment. North Carolina Animal Federation sent a letter of support of yes, and I hold in my hand an envelope with petitions and support cards, 123 voting in favor of the ordinance. I'll give these to the clerk.
Okay, thank you. And the clerk, did you have others that?
Chair Howerton, Attorney Darby actually shared the
Oh, the ones
comments that
that
were
you had,
received.
okay.
They were emailed to the commissioners. They have been placed on the commissioners' page on the county website under our archived agendas and minutes section, and they will also be included verbatim in our minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So at this point, I will close the public hearing. Now it's back to commissioners. And commissioners, are there any comments from you? Or are you ready to do a verbal vote? Commissioners? Commissioner Burns?
Okay. So I have a couple. And I will try to be quick. You all only got 2 minutes, so I don't think I should get more than that. I want to say thank you, first off and foremost, for your advocacy. I come from the School of Advocacy, so it does matter. I will state first off that I will be voting in the affirmative. However, I have some grave concerns. It is my understanding, as it says on its face, that the policy, the ordinance that we're putting forth tonight, will not create, nor will it assert the prescription of TNVR. Now, I get that's a slippery slope because we're opening up the door for it. I do have a concern that we're opening up a door for an unfunded mandate. I did hear what our officer stated, and if you all really think about it, y'all are saying some of the same stuff. There's a young woman here, I think she's a veterinarian, and she's giving her services for free. So that lets me know that in the event 3 steps down the road, we do decide to put a policy like this in place, we're going to need an additional vet. We're going to need additional officers. We're going to need additional space, because in order to bring in an animal, spay and neuter it for 72 hours, we're not going to spay, neuter it, and throw it back out. So now we have to have a place to hold it. I'm bringing up these concerns because I want folks to understand that there's a cost to this. We will need support whether the sheriff office has it or a nonprofit has it. Now, I'm an animal lover. I don't want to euthanize my own animals. I know how heartbreaking it is. I lost a Shih Tzu on Thanksgiving after 17 years. I still can't walk down to, go to Target and I'm randomly picking up food. So I do want people to understand, like, these are things, if you want my vote in the affirmative after this step, I'm going to need to see some of those things put in place, and I'm also saying that to my board, because we have to make sure that this makes sense. I know Greensboro does something similar. Someone brought up that other communities do. I think their rate is, 4%? That's nowhere near what we would need, right? I remember the first time we talked about this, somebody said that there were 36,000 feral cats in Durham. All due respect, I seriously question the validity of that. That's like 1 cat for every 10 people. It's actually more than 1 cat for every 10 people. And I beg staff, show me where the colonies are. I really want to see it. And then I asked staff how many times we got calls. And I think we had a sheriff's deputy point it out. So again, I'm in the affirmative of it. I did want to hearken to a couple of things. I get that cats are not native to North Carolina. They came from Africa. Newsflash, so did I. Doesn't mean I need to be gotten rid of. And I mean that. And people say that this is a tough and an emotional conversation. I don't mean to conflate issues. And like I said, I'm going to vote in the affirmative because I talked to my colleagues and staff. But I appreciate the stats that you all gave on birds, and I can appreciate the stats that you all gave on cats. And I hope that you can appreciate that this board went to legal counsel and went to various boards and brought this forth so that you all would have an opportunity to be heard during this public hearing. It is also my hope that when I come into your communities and I talk about the deaths of not birds, not cats, but of black children, that you would extend the same courtesy of listening to me as well. That's all I have to say.
Any other comments or questions, commissioners, before we vote? Commissioner Jacobs?
Thank you. And I want to thank everyone who has expressed their opinion on this issue. We have gotten hundreds of emails from residents expressing their opinion. All of you who have spoken tonight and at our previous meeting, This is clearly an issue that people feel passionate about, and there are no easy solutions for. I was on the AWAC, my first term in office, back in 2012 when this issue was first being discussed, and at that point, the estimate was that we had 20,000, I should say now, community cats, not feral cats, in Durham County. And here we are 10 years later, and the estimate is that we have 60,000 community cats. What we're doing now, it's not working. It's not working, and we need to do something different. This is a community problem that needs a community-based solution. So I really look forward to the next steps, which I know will have to be clear in our motion. But, you know, as our attorney said, that this is just a first step. We know that it's going to take the months ahead for all stakeholders to continue to work together. That means our animal services officers, our animal shelter, all of our community-based organizations, the ASPCA, everybody. And, you know, this is not something to come up with how we're going to implement this. We spent, I think the estimate was about $70,000 last year to euthanize about 350 cats. So again, we don't, you know, it would cost $120 million if we were even able to euthanize somehow 60,000 cats. So again, we need, you know, people say the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing that you're doing over and over again. And I will just speak from a personal perspective. I now have a cat that showed up at my barn that we were able to, feed and then get to the vet, and who is now an indoor cat, and is a wonderful cat. I was just taking her to the vet today. And I understand the impact on wildlife, and that's why I do not let my cat out of the house. But we really need to try this, and so I, again, appreciate everybody's, I know will be continued efforts, because it's going to take everybody to help address this situation. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, Commissioner Carter.
Yes, thank you. And I want to thank so many people, Attorney Darby for his help, and all the members of the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee. I have the honor of watching how hard you work and how much you care, and really appreciate all the time you've put into this complicated decision. I mean, it is hard. That's why we haven't made any sorts of changes, I think, in 12 years. And so I appreciate all the efforts there. I appreciate hearing from members of the community on both sides of this issue, and very good arguments for and against, you know, on both sides. So much so that at times I felt conflicted about what is my stand here. But in the end, I feel like, you know, and also want to thank the Animal Services, Lieutenant Penner and Mark Manning and all the officers that work with you. I really appreciated your comments too, in particular your comment about how to manage the nuisance behaviors. I do think that's an issue that more work, more fleshing out of that needs to happen. So I appreciate you bringing that forward. But I was hoping that tonight we might be able to make enough of a decision that would allow us to begin to use what is apparently standard and best practice, you know, across the country. 64, I think, counties in North Carolina already have a program that's like a trap, neuter, vaccinate, release program. And I do believe that our current practices aren't working to reduce the cat population. And so I'd like for us to try something that might actually help us better manage the cat population so that everyone would be happy. That's what I think we all are, seriously interested in having happen, and then all wildlife will be protected as well. from that. And, you know, it will reduce the challenges that our animal shelter faces. And if we take the right action tonight, we can remove the legal barrier that exists now for any sort of trapping and spaying and vaccinating program. Currently, there is a requirement that anyone who traps a cat have a permit from the sheriff's office. And that is a legal barrier that prevents a lot of independent folks who would like to participate in this community problem. And so many of you are probably here tonight. And so if you're looking for a motion, I don't know whether you are or not yet, but I was hoping that we can use the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee's draft ordinance as a model to adopt, with the understanding that there's a lot of work still that needs to happen to determine the regulations and procedures for an official county-wide TNVR program. But in the meantime, if we were to adopt the AWAC ordinance as a model, then, and especially if we move forward immediately with the provision that removes the requirement for a permit to trap, that then our community partners can begin to work on trapping some of these cats. I think that there are plenty that are already need to be trapped. The animal shelter's way over capacity, and there are people who stand ready to do this work now and are unable to because of our current policy. So my motion would be that we adopt the proposed changes to the ordinance as presented by the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, with full implementation to begin when regulations and procedures for TNVR are developed.
So, Commissioner Carter?
And this would be a multi-step motion.
So you are saying we are not to follow the attorney's recommendation as far as his motion? You're making a different motion?
I am making a different motion.
Clarify what it is that you're saying.
I don't think it. I don't want to. Run afoul of the attorney's recommendation. So I am not sure what your recommendation is.
Do you have my motion in your package?
It's in your package.
I guess
I don't think you're far from what I
I don't think so either.
But I think if you may read it verbatim the way it is, if that's what you want, then
okay,
it'll be clear.
I just worried that your motion, Attorney Darby, was more of a motion to establish a TNVR program rather than deal with the changes in the ordinance that have to be changed.
Have you read the motion that?
Yes, I did. I mean, if you think that if you think your motion, Attorney Darby, would cover the ability for independent TNVR folks in our community to begin trapping, then I could go with that motion.
I don't think so. I don't. The way it's written, no. Not
okay.
You're saying
according to my motion, we would have to determine who's going to be responsible for trapping and releasing. And then at that point, you can go ahead and pass the motion, or the amended ordinance. But you're going to have to, it's just still a lot of work to be done.
There is a lot of work to be done. I agree. And I think that we are going to need to convene a coalition of partners, including Animal Services and AWAC and APS and the Animal Shelter and nonprofit folks who spoke tonight, and any other interested community members, experts, to work together to really create the regulations and the procedures that would need to go with a very non-specific high-level ordinance, which is what I think AWAC has brought forward to us. It doesn't establish the full-fledged official county program. It doesn't even say we will. Maybe we won't. Maybe it will just fall onto the shoulders of independent parties. I doubt it. I wouldn't recommend that. But
I'm sorry, I don't have my motion right in front of me. If someone would just read that, I think.
Because the way I'm reading it is that there can be corrections and additions made at a later time with the understanding that we will decide that, especially, we don't know who's going to manage this at this point. And that, I think that's what the attorney is trying to tell us. We got to figure out who's going to manage this. Is it going to be the sheriff or is it going to be somebody else?
Right.
We don't know.
And I totally agree with that. I just would like for us tonight to take some kind of action that allows for independent people to begin trapping some of these cats and spaying them, neutering them, vaccinating them, and then returning. Not part of any official program.
Can we go ahead tonight and follow the attorney's recommendation, and then your committee that you're working with, along with the attorney, get together and come up with whatever it is that you are suggesting? Because otherwise, we don't know exactly what it is that you're.
Well, I'm suggesting we adopt the ordinance that came forward, that we reviewed as a draft and that we heard a public hearing on tonight. And if people are not comfortable with full implementation, and I would agree with you, I don't feel comfortable with full implementation either, we would have, a delay in the full implementation of it in the similar way that we did the non-discrimination ordinance. But we would go ahead and adopt the ordinance changes tonight with the understanding that if people feel more comfortable with it, no implementation starts yet until it's been fully fleshed out by this coalition of partners that I mentioned earlier.
What are you recommending, Attorney Darby?
I'm sorry, I don't have my motion in front of me, but I'm recommending whatever I said in the motion and to the effect. It said that the AWAC ordinance will serve as a model. That's what you all will adopt as a model. And then you're going to get with the sheriff or some independent organization to be responsible for the trapping and releasing of the animals, of the cats. I think that's basically what I said. So whatever you do tonight, it will be somewhat just in principle, so to speak. But you're going to come back and put in the final details of the ordinance, of the program, I guess I should say. If that makes sense.
Okay, Commissioner Burns and Commissioner Jacobs. And I think Commissioner Long, your hand was up as well, so.
No, go for it. I know how to wait.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just trying to clarify. So, Commissioner Carter, what you're asking for is basically this ordinance, or the motion that Attorney Darby is mentioning, with the addition of amending the current restrictions that exist through the Sheriff's Department that doesn't allow individuals to trap animals independently. So adding that addition to the motion.
Well, I think Attorney Darby did say he recommends we use the AWAC ordinance as our model, and it does remove the barrier. Okay. And so as long as, we're really focusing on that part, we're using the AWAC ordinance as a model, I think we need to decide, can any of it go ahead and can we begin any of it? Can the community begin implementing any of the new ordinance?
I don't see how you're going to do it, but someone has to be in control.
Well, people are already doing it, or they're ready to do it, is what I'm saying. And the ordinance says, you can. The ordinance would allow anyone to trap as long as it's for the purpose of TNVR. You can't just go out there and trap, for nothing. But I don't.
So it'd be like a motion to saying that we will continue working on this, and in the meantime, groups like the Best Friends Animal Society that was here speaking can start the work. And then we start to figure out how the.
I don't think they can start the work without board approval.
Can I?
Commissioner Burns?
Yes, really quick.
Then
So I'm
Commissioner
looking
Carter.
at our minutes, and in our minutes, we have 4 attachments, and y'all, I promise you all, we have skills. There's one document that says proposed draft of the new Durham County Control Ordinance. That is what it states. It says 6/16/2022, and so those were the changes that we talked about, correct? The different definitions that we talked.
You're looking at.
I know. I'm gonna go to the other one. Then there's another one that says motion adoption of a trap, spay, neuter, vaccinate, release program for community cats. So we do have 2 things currently right now on its face. Thank you, Madam Chair. You nodding your head. There are two things on this agenda. Here's where my concern is, and I don't want anybody to say I'm taking it. I had no problem moving forward with the updated animal control ordinances and the new definitions and what was outlined earlier. Here's where I have some concern, and I love y'all, but I swear I knew this was gonna happen. I knew that we were going to have one thing on the plate, and then as soon as this thing started, we were going to try to do something else, and that's scary for me. Not only as a commissioner, it's scary for me as a resident. I would support the new changes in this ordinance for us to be able to open this up so that a committee could be created so that we could come back. But to sit here tonight and say, yes, let's allow random nonprofits that we have not assigned to go out and start doing TNVR, I would respectfully not be in support of that tonight, simply because of some of the reasons that I already brought up. Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to house it? Who's going to regulate it? And since we don't have that right now, I see some of y'all raising your hand. Like, this body doesn't have it. This body does not have it.
We can't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, audience. We can't do an exchange that way. I'm sorry.
I appreciate you. Thank you for your comments.
Can't do that.
Let's just clarify this, and I do mean that as respect. Y'all, I promise you, if discussions had been had about that beforehand, I think that I would. But the fact that now we're saying, well, let's do it tonight, that is not what was discussed with me, and I don't know who else that was discussed with. Did y'all discuss that outside of me? I'm just asking.
I do not want to say let's do it tonight. I'm really not trying. And actually, if folks, you know, I really wanted Willie Darby's motion, except for the part about I was hoping that we could have immediate implementation of the portion of the ordinance that removes the trapping permit requirement. That was the one thing I was trying to raise with folks tonight. But what I feel like is this feels like too much, too fast. And so I would back up and am happy to go with Attorney Darby's motion if it means eventually an official adoption of the entire ordinance, using it as a model. There may be some small changes, but and if it also means we will work to form this committee of folks, including people I mentioned earlier. Animal Services, AWAC, APS, nonprofits, the Durham County Sheriff's Office, to work through the details of the regulations and procedures of a TNVR program, who would administer it, all of those things, the costs associated with it, all of that.
Yes.
So I'm now saying I think I will step back and try to go with what I feel like the majority of you all are saying you feel comfortable with.
Okay, Commissioner Jacobs.
Okay, I know this has gotten very confusing because of the two different ordinances. I just want to clarify. I personally am okay with what the proposed language of, Durham County, we will vote on Durham County adopting a trap, spray, neuter, vaccinate, and release program.
Are you making the motion?
No, I just want to clarify the issue that I have with the language proposed by Attorney Darby. That I'm okay with the first part that clearly says that Durham County is going to adopt a trap, spay, neuter, vaccinate, and release program for community cats with the Animal Advisory Committee's amendments as the model. But I think for me, what I'm not comfortable with is the second part that just says that it will be decided later as to who will be assigned and the funding. I would prefer that we're very clear tonight about the next steps, that it not at a later date, but that we are directing all stakeholders, and we can enumerate who they are, to begin this work of creating a recommended TVNR program to be brought back to our board, and to give a specific date that we want folks to come back with a draft or proposal for what the TVNR program is. So I would like it to be, if somebody can come up with a motion, I'm looking to you, Commissioner Carter, because you're our liaison on this, that can be just more specific with the second part. I just think it's really important that we're very clear about the next steps, and I'm not comfortable with the language of at a later date, and I think we need to be specific about who needs to work on this.
Let me ask you this question. So we've got community folks here that can respond to that, but you don't have any of the staff, any of the sheriff department people that would have to weigh in on this? So how do you?
Well, they
you
should be a
answer-
part of it. They
So
should be
let me
part of it.
finish my question, please. How do you answer for them when you haven't gotten in a room and have this conversation? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out. It's gotten to be in a swirl for me right now, and that I'm trying to figure out. We're trying to put something together when we're not in a space where we can really iron it out with the people at the table. So help me to understand, what are we doing that we're going to say that these folks are going to be, we're going to come up with a date, and so I'm confused.
How about we go with the attorney's motion, and at the very end, where it says, with the understanding that it will be decided later as to who will be assigned, et cetera.
I can't hear you.
At the part where it starts to say, with the understanding that it will be decided later, that we substitute something more specific, like with the understanding that the county will work with the Durham County Sheriff's Office and the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee and the Animal Shelter, APS, and other relevant parties to create a TMV, well, they already said that, to figure out all the necessary regulations and procedures that are required to fully implement to fully implement the program.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Would that be okay? And
Yeah, that
we
makes more
assign a date that Attorney Darby thinks is within reason, 6 months from now, whatever you all think.
Does that work?
I'm sorry, I was in conference.
All of that good work. Okay, write that out, Commissioner Carter. Okay. And so that it can be stated the way that the attorney would approve, if you will.
Sorry, I didn't hear you because I was in conference.
Yeah, he didn't hear what you said.
What if I move to this? I move that Durham County adopt a trap, spay, neuter, vaccinate, trap, neuter, vaccinate, release. I like calling it that. But anyway, I think we all know what we're talking about. Program for community cats with the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee's amendments to the present ordinance as the model,
yes,
along with any necessary corrections or additions, with the understanding that the county will work with Durham County Sheriff's Office, Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, the Animal Shelter, APS, interested nonprofits, and other interested and relevant parties to develop all of the regulations and procedures that would be required therein.
that'll work. That will work.
And Attorney Darby, the only thing else we'd like to add is some kind of a date, 6 months from now, whatever you think.
I don't know how long it'll take, but you can put a date in there, but you can always amend the date.
Okay.
And give them a date to
Okay.
shoot for.
What do y'all think?
Second with the date.
Starting August, because July we're gone.
Well, I would just
So
leave that
are
up
you
to
gonna
staff.
Are you going to be working?
I would just leave it up to staff when they get started, with the understanding that, we're hoping that maybe at the first of the year, or in 6 months, or in 1 year, certainly, we could begin full implementation.
Yeah, February.
Make sure Drew puts it on his things to do list, and he'll keep us moving.
Full work
It'll be
session.
6 months.
6 months, I think.
Starting.
I think 6 months is,
From August 1st.
If we can
I
get
think
this,
that's a sufficient
get this in
timeline.
place by the
Yeah.
first of the year, I think we'll
Yeah,
be doing
'cause
great.
We're not going to hold, anybody's feet to the fire
Okay.
necessarily. It's just, like have a deadline
Right.
to shoot for.
All right, so do we have a motion?
Second.
And do we have a second for this
Second.
motion?
Second.
You second? Okay. All right.
Commissioner.
Roll call?
Commissioner
Aye.
Long, Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter, Vice Chair Jacobs,
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. Approved 5-0. Took a little bit of time, but we got there. All right, so that brings us down to board appointments and commissions. Attorney Darby, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Thank you all for being here and putting up with us as we work this through.
Good evening again.
Okay,
Thank you, Madam
ready?
Chairman. You have 4 boards or commissions to appoint to tonight. The first one is the Alcohol Beverage Control Board. You may fill 2 vacancies. One will go to Daniel Edwards. Another one will go to Rochelle Scott. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Then you have the Durham Convention Center Authority. One vacant position, and that will go to Nicole Thompson. Next, you'll have the Durham County Women's Commission, 2 positions. Vanessa Safi, Kate Safari, excuse me for messing these names. Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, that will go to Alec Hurdle. Those are your results.
Okay. Congratulations to all of the individuals that have been appointed, and we thank you for being willing to serve. So we are at a place of a closed session, Commissioners. The board is requested to adjourn to closed session for the following: to establish or to instruct the public body staff or negotiating agent concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease. The amount of compensation and other material terms of an employment contract or proposed employment contract pursuant to GS 143-318.11A5. And the second one is to consult with an attorney employed by Durham County to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body in the matter of a case number 20 CVS 3058, McGritt versus Durham County Government, ETAL pursuant to GS 143-318.11A3. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Long. Aye. Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye, approved 5-0. We are Okay. We met in closed session, gave directions to staff, and I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved in second?
Commissioner Long.
Aye.
Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Vice Chair Jacobs. Chair Howerton.
Aye. We are adjourned.